I was getting ready for tonight's engagement party when the news of Muhan's death reached me. On the phone, Muliang's voice trembled with tears. Qingwei, big brother, he fell off a cliff, they can't even find his body. The rouge case in my hand clattered to the floor, shattering into pieces. When did this happen? Last night. He went up the mountain to find that rare orchid you wanted, hoping to give it to you as an engagement gift, but then, on the phone, Liang Mu was sobbing uncontrollably. While Yimu comforted him, don't cry, second brother. Qingwei must be heartbroken right now too. Heartbroken, I should be heartbroken. Muhan is my fiancé, the most outstanding among the 3 orphans adopted by the Song family, and the person I've trusted most since childhood, yet at this moment, I'm overwhelmed by a sense of absurdity, because I've been reborn. In my previous life, upon learning of Muhan's death, I was consumed by grief, rejected all suitors, and remained devoted to his memory for the rest of my days. At the age of 80, I went to Switzerland for convalescence, but in that private hospital, I saw Muhan, who had been dead for 60 years. He was holding hands with my secretary Han Xiao, with 2 children by their side, a picture of a happy family. When Han Xiao saw me, her face turned pale. Muhan, however, simply gave a faint smile and said, Qingwei, long time no see. I had a cerebral hemorrhage on the spot and died in that damned Swiss hospital. When I opened my eyes again, I had gone back to the day before the engagement banquet. I was back on the day Muhan had his accident. Qingwei, are you okay? Mu Liang's voice snapped me back to reality. I'm fine, I said calmly. Since Muhan has had an accident, go and obtain the death certificate immediately. Also, reclaim the 30% shares I transferred to him. Qingwei, what are you saying? Big brother just had an accident. How could you? Mu Liang, I cut him off. Remember your place, all 3 of you are just orphans adopted by my Song family. What I say goes. After hanging up the phone, I stared at my reflection in the mirror. 22-year-old Song Qingwei, the sole heir to the Song conglomerate, born with a silver spoon in her mouth. In this lifetime, I won't be fooled by those 3 ungrateful wretches again. When I came downstairs, Mu Liang and Mu Yi were already waiting in the living room. Both of their eyes were red, as if they had just been crying. Seeing me come down, Mu Liang immediately stood up and said, Qingwei, we've already contacted the search and rescue team. There might still be hope for our brother. No need, I said as I sat down on the sofa. Since he can't be found, we'll treat it as a missing person case. He died of natural causes 7 years later. Mu Yi stared at me in disbelief. Qingwei, how can you be so heartless? That's our eldest brother, your fiancé. I watched their performance with a cold sneer in my heart. In my past life, I was completely fooled by their crocodile tears and treated them like my own brothers. Yet in reality, they had been funneling money to the deceased Muhan all along, funding his lavish lifestyle abroad. Meanwhile, I, the one who'd been deceived, wasted my entire life pining for a love that never truly existed. Mu Liang, Mu Yi, I called out their names. As of today, you are to move out of the Song residence. Furthermore, all the shares and assets I transferred to you are hereby revoked. Mu Liang shot to his feet. Qingwei, have you lost your mind? We're family. I let out a hollow laugh. The only family I, Song Qingwei, acknowledge are my parents. You 3 were just brought from the orphanage to keep me company when my parents thought I seemed lonely. The game is over now. There was a brief silence on the other end of the line. Mu Ye's face darkened. Qingwei, you can't take your anger out on us just because something happened to our eldest brother. We've always treated you like a real sister since we were kids. How could you say something like that? I stood up, looking down at them. Then let me ask you, do you share the Song family name? Legally speaking, what relation are you to our Song family? The 2 were left speechless. Indeed, when Mom and Dad took them in, it wasn't a formal adoption. They just changed their surname and moved into the Song residence. Legally speaking, they were nothing. Butler. I summoned the butler. Prepare 1 million for each of them and have them leave the Song family. Also, inform the lawyer to reclaim all the assets I previously transferred. The butler hesitated. Miss, this might not be appropriate. What's inappropriate about it? I said coldly. As the sole heir of the Song family, my word is the rule. Mu Liang was about to say something more, but I raised my hand to stop him. You have 1 hour to pack your things. If you're not gone by then, I'll call security. Watching the 2 of them scurry away in disgrace, I finally let out a sigh of relief. In this lifetime, I won't be played for a fool again. Since Muhan has chosen death, I'll grant him his wish. I'll make sure he vanishes from my world for good. I took out my phone and dialed a number. Qinian, it's me. A surprised voice came through the phone. Qingwei, what made you think of calling me? Gu Qinian, my childhood sweetheart, the playmate I grew up with. In my past life, Because of Muhan's presence, we gradually drifted apart and ultimately missed our chance with each other. In this life, I'm going to seize the happiness that belongs to me. Chinian, I want to see you. Gu Chinian arrived half an hour earlier than the agreed time. When I spotted him in the corner of the cafe, he was anxiously checking his watch. After 3 years apart, he had grown more mature and steady, but his eyes remained as clear as ever. Chinian, I walked over and called his name. His head snapped up, and the moment he saw me, a flicker of delight crossed his eyes. Qingwei, you've lost weight. I sat down across from him, momentarily at a loss for words. In our previous life, the last time we had seen each other was at his wedding. He married a well-matched lady from a good family, while I attended the wedding alone, carrying my longing for Muhan with me. At the wedding, he asked me how I was doing. I said I was doing well. He said that was good, and we never saw each other again. Qingwei, Gu Chinian waved his hand in front of my eyes. What are you thinking about? Nothing. I snapped out of it. Chinian, there's something I need to tell you. Muhan is dead. Gu Chinian froze for a moment, then grabbed my hand anxiously. When did this happen? Are you alright? His hand was so warm. It reminded me of how he used to hold my hand to comfort me whenever I cried as a child. Last night, I fell off a cliff. I said calmly, I'm fine. Qingwei, Gu Chinian trailed off, leaving his words unspoken. I know what he's trying to say. He had the same expression in our previous life, wanting to comfort me but at a loss for words. Chinian, I want to ask you something, I said, looking into his eyes. If I weren't married now, would you marry me? Gu Chinian's eyes instantly lit up. Qingwei, are you serious? I nodded. I figured it out. I don't need some earth-shattering romance. I just want someone who genuinely cares for me, and you're the only person I've ever known who's never once lied to me. Gu Chinian held my hand tightly. Qingwei, I've waited all these years hoping that one day you'd finally see me. I do. Of course I want to marry you. Watching his excitement, a wave of warmth washed over my heart. This must be what true love feels like. No grand vows needed, no dramatic gestures, just genuine feelings for each other. Then let's get engaged, I said. At the originally planned time and place, Gu Chinian nodded eagerly. Alright, I'll follow your lead. The moment I stepped out of the cafe, my phone started blowing up. It was all calls from Mu Liang and Mu Yi. I didn't answer a single one. They ran straight to the Song family's doorstep and didn't arrive until evening. Qingwei, you can't do this to us, Mu Liang shouted outside the door. We grew up together. How can you drive us away just because of our eldest brother's death? I chimed in from beside him. Qingwei, we know you're grieving, but you can't take it out on us. If eldest brother knew you were treating us like this, his soul would never rest in peace. I stood by the second-floor window, watching them coldly. The butler approached and said, Miss, shall I call security to have them removed? No need. I shook my head. Let them make a scene. We're moving out tomorrow anyway. They'll leave once they've had their fill of causing trouble. Just as expected, after 2 hours of commotion, Mu Liang and Mu Yi slunk away in defeat. Early the next morning, I received a call from my lawyer. Miss Song, the assets you requested to reclaim have been processed, and the shares have been transferred back to your name. However, there's one rather peculiar matter. Mr. Muhan's share transfer records indicate that he attempted to transfer his shares to someone named Han Xiao just 1 day before the incident occurred. However, the transfer was unsuccessful due to incomplete documentation. Han Xiao, my secretary, who was also Muhan's mistress. In my previous life, I always considered her my most trusted assistant, never suspecting she had long been bribed by Muhan. I understand, I said, hanging up the phone. Fire Han Xiao today. That afternoon, Han Xiao came to me with tear-reddened eyes. Miss Song, why are you firing me? What did I do wrong? I watched her performance with a cold sneer in my heart. No reason needed. I just can't stand the sight of you. Han Xiao was taken aback. Miss Song, you can't take your anger at Mr. Muhan out on me. Take it out on you. I laughed. Han Xiao, what exactly do you think I should blame you for? Han Xiao's expression turned uneasy. I don't understand what you mean. Don't understand. I stood up and walked over to her. Then let me ask you, why did Muhan transfer his shares to you the day before the accident? Han Xiao's face instantly paled. I don't know. Perhaps Mr. Muhan wanted to thank me for my work over the years. Thank you. My voice grew colder. By giving shares worth tens of millions to a secretary. Han Xiao, do you take me for a fool? Han Xiao finally broke down, dropping to her knees with a thud. Miss Song, I was wrong. I truly was wrong. But Mr. Muhan and I are genuinely in love. We never meant to hurt you. Genuinely in love. The memory of what I witnessed in Switzerland during my past life made me sick to my stomach. Would two people truly in love deceive others for 60 years? I said coldly. Han Xiao was stunned. 60 years, Miss Song. What are you talking about? Chapter 2. Realizing I had slipped up, I quickly corrected myself. What I meant was, if they truly love each other, why not be together openly? Why resort to such underhanded methods? Han Xiao hung her head in silence. Get out. I waved my hand dismissively. Don't let me see your face again from today onward. Han Xiao ran out sobbing. I knew she would go find Liang Mu and Yi Mu. Let the storm rage even fiercer then. Sure enough, that very evening, Liang Mu, Yi Mu, and Han Xiao showed up together at the Song residence's doorstep. This time they'd wised up, no shouting or making a scene. Just quietly kneeling at the entrance, passers-by were whispering and pointing, calling me a heartless socialite for kicking out my late fiancé's brothers right after his death. I sat in the living room, watching the three men outside through the window. In my past life, I couldn't stand being criticized and would always give in, but in this life, I won't show any mercy. Miss, the reporters outside are growing in number. The butler reported as he approached. Shall I have them removed? No need. I picked up my teacup and took a slow sip. Let them kneel. It just so happens that tomorrow is Qingyan's and my engagement banquet. Let everyone see what it means to reap what you sow. The next morning, I changed into the carefully selected gown. It was a champagne-colored gown, simple yet elegant, nothing like morning attire. The butler looked at my outfit with concern. Miss, is this really appropriate? Why wouldn't it be? I adjusted my earrings. I'm not the one who died. Why should I dress like a widow? The engagement party was held on the top floor of the Song Hotel. The guests were all distinguished nobles and elites from the capital, including my parents' friends, along with numerous members of the press. When Gu Qinian and I walked into the banquet hall hand in hand, everyone was stunned. Just 3 days earlier, everyone had assumed I would cancel this engagement party because of Muhan's death. To their surprise, not only did I not cancel it, but I also replaced the groom. Qingwei, are you sure about this? Gu Qinian whispered to me. I looked at the astonished faces in the audience and nodded firmly. Yes, I'm sure. The MC began recounting our love story. He described how we grew up together as childhood sweethearts, innocent and deeply attached to each other. The guests below the stage whispered among themselves, but out of respect for the Song family's reputation, no one dared to voice their doubts openly. Midway through the ceremony, the banquet hall doors suddenly swung open. Mu Liang, Mu Yi, and Han Xiao rushed in. Qingwei, you can't do this, Mu Liang shouted loudly. It's only been 3 days since our eldest brother passed away, and you're already engaged to another man. How could you betray his memory like this? Mu Yi chimed in. He loves you so much he'd give his life for you. How could you treat him this way? Han Xiao wept pitifully. Miss Song, Muhan adores you. How could you trample on his feelings like this? The banquet hall erupted in an uproar. Guests began whispering among themselves. Some said I was too heartless. Others insisted Muhan was truly pitiful. I looked at the 3 people in the audience and suddenly laughed. You say Muhan loves me. I took the microphone from the host. Then let me ask you this. Would someone who truly loves me secretly transfer his shares to another woman the day before our engagement? Han Zhao's face instantly turned pale. Mu Liang and Mu Yi were also stunned, clearly unaware of this matter. Miss Han Xiao, would you care to explain to everyone why Muhan transferred tens of millions in shares to you? I stared at her. Was it really just because of your professional relationship? Han Xiao stammered, unable to form a coherent response. The guests below began whispering among themselves, their gazes toward Han Xiao growing increasingly suggestive. And you, Mu Liang and Mu Yi? I turned to the 2 brothers. You keep insisting Muhan loved me, so why was he secretly selling all the gifts I gave him during the month before his accident? Do you really not know where all those gifts ended up? Mu Liang's face darkened. Qingwei, what nonsense are you talking about? Nonsense, I sneered. Butler, bring out those receipts. The butler had long been prepared and immediately stepped onto the stage, handing me a stack of receipts. I held up the receipt and spoke into the microphone. These are Muhan's pawnshop records. He pawned every single gift I gave him, the watch, the cufflinks, the tie clip. He got 200,000 in cash for them, and every last cent of that money was transferred to Han Xiao. The room fell completely silent. All eyes were fixed on the 4 people on stage, waiting to see what would happen next. Mu Yi tried to defend Muhan. Maybe Big Brother has his reasons. Reasons? I cut him off. What possible reason could justify him secretly giving money to another woman behind his fiancé's back, and doing it the day before their engagement? Han Xiao finally broke down, sobbing. Miss Song, Muhan and I are truly in love. We were planning to leave and start over abroad right after your engagement. But Muhan didn't want to owe you anything. which is why he wanted to return the shares to you. The moment these words were spoken, the room erupted in an uproar. Everyone now understood that Mourned's death was no accident, but a premeditated departure. He had staged his own death in an attempt to run away with his lover. Gucinian squeezed my hand, giving me strength. I took a deep breath and continued. Now you all see the truth, don't you? My fiancé chose to fake his death to escape our marriage. Just one day before our wedding, and why should I remain a widow for life for someone who deceived and betrayed me? Applause broke out from the audience. Some people began clapping for me, showing support for my decision. Mu Liang and Mu Ye's faces turned ashen, knowing they were utterly doomed. Han Xiao ran out of the banquet hall in tears, watching her retreating figure. I felt a surge of grim satisfaction. In my past life, you deceived me for an entire lifetime. In this lifetime, I will make you pay. After the engagement party, public opinion began to shift. The voices accusing me of being cold-hearted vanished, replaced by doubts about Mourned's character. Some media outlets uncovered more inside information, revealing that Mourned was indeed liquidating his assets before his death, and there were even leaks claiming to have seen intimate photos of him with Han Xiao. Mu Liang and Mu Yi were completely panicked. They had lost the protection of the Song family. The assets I transferred to them, and now they couldn't even hold on to their reputation. To make matters worse, they couldn't get in touch with Mourned at all. I sat in the office, reviewing the investigation report handed to me by my assistant, Ms. Song. We've confirmed that Mourned is indeed alive. He's currently on a small island in Thailand under a false identity. Han Xiao must have gone to find him. I flipped through the photos and saw a familiar face. It's still that Mourned, still that Han Xiao. But this time, without my money, they're not doing well. Keep an eye on them. I closed the file. Report any suspicious activity immediately. After the assistant nodded and left, Gucinian pushed the door open and walked in. Finished with work, he sat down across from me. I've made a reservation at a restaurant. Would you like to have dinner together tonight? Sure, I nodded, then suddenly remembered something. Gucinian, if I told you I had a very long dream about our future, would you believe me? Gucinian was taken aback for a moment, then smiled. What kind of dream? I dreamed that because I trusted Mourned, I ended up missing my chance with you for a lifetime. I looked into his eyes. I dreamed that you married someone else in the end, and I grew old alone. I dreamed that at 80 years old, I finally realized the biggest mistake of my life was not choosing you sooner. Gucinian's expression turned serious. Qingwei, that was just a dream. What is it, now that you've chosen me? We'll have a wonderful future together. I held his hand. Yes, just a dream, but deep down I knew it wasn't a dream. It was something that had truly happened. It was a lesson paid for with a lifetime of suffering. Over dinner, Gucinian brought up the topic of the wedding. Qingwei, what kind of wedding would you like? Let's keep it simple. I thought for a moment. Just invite our real friends and family. No need for all the pomp and circumstance. I want a pure wedding, free from any ulterior motives or calculations. Gucinian nodded. Whatever you say, Miss Song. This is Mu Liang. A hoarse voice came through the phone. Mu Liang's. I need to talk to you. We have nothing to discuss, I said, ready to hang up. It's about Big Brother. Mu Liang rushed to say. He's still alive, and he's in danger. I let out a cold laugh. I know he's alive, and I know where he is. Mu Liang. Do you really think I'm that gullible, Miss Song? I know you're upset, but your brother is genuinely in trouble. He's been kidnapped in Thailand, and the kidnappers are demanding a 10 million ransom. But we simply don't have that kind of money right now. As I listened to Mu Liang's words, a cold sneer formed in my heart. The same old story. In my previous life, they had used similar tricks, claiming Mourned was sick abroad and needed money for treatment, swindling a significant amount of money out of me. Mu Liang, do you really think I'm a fool? My voice grew colder. One moment you say he's dead, the next that he's been kidnapped. Just spill all your tricks at once, Miss Song. I'm not lying to you. Mu Liang's voice trembled with tears. The kidnappers sent photos. They beat my brother senseless. Enough. I cut him off. Mu Liang, I've seen through all three of you. Don't even think about getting any money, expecting my sympathy. Not a chance. After hanging up, I turned to Gucinian. Sorry for interrupting our date. Gucinian shook his head. Don't worry about it. Are they still bothering you? Yeah, but it'll be over soon. I picked up my wine glass. Gucinian, let's talk about something more pleasant. So, where are we thinking for our honeymoon? Gucinian's eyes lit up. Where would you like to go? How about the Maldives? I thought for a moment. I want to see the real ocean, that pure, untainted blue. In my past life, I never truly traveled. I was always held back by one thing or another. In this lifetime, I want to see all the beauty the world has to offer. Alright, I'll make the arrangements right away, Guchinian said. I'm going to give you the perfect honeymoon. Watching his excited expression, a wave of warmth washed over my heart. This must be what true love feels like. It doesn't have to be earth-shattering, just genuine affection between us. The next day, I received an unexpected phone call. It was from the Thai police. Miss Song, we've received a report. A Chinese national named Muhan, who claims to be your fiancé, has been assaulted locally. He provided your contact information, saying you'd vouch for him. I let out a cold laugh. Officer, I believe you're mistaken. Muhan was indeed my fiancé, but he's dead. He died in an accident in China 3 months ago. I can even provide you with a death certificate. The officer on the other end of the line was clearly taken aback. A death certificate? But we do have someone named Muhan here. It's possible someone has stolen his identity, I said calmly. I suggest you carefully examine his identification documents. Additionally, I must state that I am not responsible for any actions taken by this individual. After hanging up, I was in high spirits. Oh, Muhan. Did you really think playing dead would get you out of everything? Now you're actually a dead man. Let's see how you handle this. That afternoon, Mu Liang called again. This time his voice grew more frantic. Miss Song, something terrible has happened to Big Brother. The Thai police have already contacted you. Why won't you acknowledge Big Brother's identity? Because Muhan is dead, I said coldly. The dead don't need identities. Miss Song, you can't do this, Mu Liang pleaded desperately. No matter what, Big Brother was once your fiancé. Once, I cut him off. Mu Liang, let me ask you this. Can a man who abandons his fiancé for another woman still be called a fiancé? Does someone who treats love with deception and betrayal even deserve to be saved? Mu Liang was left speechless. Chapter 3. And one more thing, Mu Liang, my voice turned even colder. All 3 of you are no longer members of the Song family. The trouble Muhan stirred up overseas has nothing to do with me. If you want to save him, figure it out yourselves. After hanging up, I made a call to my assistant. Contact some media outlets for me. I need to clarify a few things. The next day, major media outlets published my statement. In the statement, I clearly stated that Muhan had died unexpectedly 3 months prior and provided the official death certificate. I also clarified that if anyone was fraudulently using Muhan's identity to engage in illegal activities overseas, neither I nor the Song family would bear any responsibility. The statement immediately sparked a firestorm online. Some say Muhan truly died, and the person in Thailand now is an imposter. Others claim Muhan faked his death to escape the marriage and is now reaping what he sowed. But no matter what, everyone understood one thing. Song Qingwei and Muhan had completely severed their ties. Mu Liang and Mu Yi grew desperate. They rushed to the Song family's doorstep, knelt down, and begged me through tears to save Muhan. Qingwei, no matter what wrong our eldest brother has done, he's still the brother we grew up with since childhood. You can't just stand by and watch him perish. I stood by the window watching them, feeling completely unmoved. In my past life, it was precisely this so-called brotherly bond that allowed them to deceive me for an entire lifetime. In this lifetime, I won't be soft-hearted again. Miss, shall I have security escort them out? The butler inquired. No need. I shook my head. Let them kneel. The longer they kneel, the more it reveals their hypocrisy. As expected, after kneeling for 3 hours, Mu Liang and Mu Yi couldn't hold on any longer. They leaned against the wall to stand up and slunk away in disgrace. In the evening, Guchinian came to have dinner with me. How's the situation with Muhan coming along? He asked with concern. Just about done. I cut into my steak. He's truly become a man without an identity now. Returning to his home country would be next to impossible. As for Mu Liang and without my support, they won't be able to keep up their antics for much longer. Guchinian nodded. That's good to hear. I was worried they'd keep pestering you. They won't. I smiled. Chinian, when have we set our wedding for? How about next month? Guchinian's eyes sparkled with anticipation. I've already started preparing. I'll give you the perfect wedding. Alright, I nodded. Next month, we'll officially be together. The thought of the upcoming wedding filled my heart with excitement. In this lifetime, I can finally be with someone who truly loves me. Those who have wronged me will get their just deserts. A week before the wedding, I received a peculiar package. Inside were a disc and a letter. The letter was from Han Xiao. Ms. Song, I know you despise us, but I must share a secret with you. Muhan is indeed alive, but he's in grave danger right now. He was taken by a local gang who claims he owes them a substantial debt. The disc contains footage I recorded covertly. You'll know I'm telling the truth once you see it. I know I have no right to ask this of you, but Muhan, he's truly on the verge of death. After reading the letter, I let out a cold laugh, still putting on an act. But since they've gone through all this trouble to stage this performance, I might as well play along. I slid the disc into my computer and clicked play. The footage was grainy, like it had been shot covertly on a phone. It was indeed Mourned, but he looked disheveled, his face bruised and clothes soiled. Several men who appeared to be locals surrounded him, speaking in a language I couldn't understand. Then someone translated into English. "When are you going to pay back the money you owe us?" Mourned pleaded. "Just give me a little more time. My fiancée is very wealthy. She'll come to my rescue." "Fiancé," sneered the translator. "Your fiancé has already married someone else, and the papers even reported that you're dead." Mourned's face instantly turned ashen. "Impossible. Qingwei would never do this to me. See for yourself." The man produced a newspaper with a photo of my engagement to Gu Qinian. Mourned completely fell apart when he saw the photograph. "No, it can't be. Qingwei clearly loved me. How could she do this to me?" I shut down the computer with complete indifference. This could be genuine. Or it could all be an act. Either way, I won't be fooled again. Since Mourned chose betrayal, he must face the consequences of his betrayal. Han Xiao chose to be the other woman, and now she must face the consequences that come with that role. I'm no savior. And I have no obligation to rescue those who have hurt me. That evening, Mu Liang called again. "Qingwei, have you seen the disc Han Xiao sent you?" "I see," I said flatly. "Then you still refuse to save our brother?" Mu Liang's voice was filled with despair. "He's really going to die." "Mu Liang, let me ask you something." I cut him off. "If Mourned had successfully run away with Han Xiao back then, would you have told me the truth?" Mu Liang fell silent. "Would your conscience ever trouble you?" Knowing I spent my life in mourning for a man who never existed, Mu Liang remained silent. "Your inability to answer proves you never truly considered me family," I said coldly. "So why should I bear responsibility for your kin?" "Qingwei," Mu Liang began, but the words died on his lips. "Mu Liang, I'm saying this for the last time." My voice grew more resolute. "Whether Mourned lives or dies has nothing to do with me. Who you people are is none of my concern either. From now on, let's not contact each other anymore." Hanging up the phone, I felt completely liberated. I've severed all those bonds of loyalty and obligation that once held me back. In this lifetime, I live only for myself. The next day, Gu Qinian and I went to choose our wedding rings. At the jewelry store, Gu Qinian carefully selected the ring for me. "What do you think of this one?" He picked up a diamond ring. "Or would you prefer something more understated?" "I like this one." I pointed to a ring with a minimalist design that still had great texture, nothing too elaborate or flashy, just like our relationship, simple and beautiful. Gu Qinian slipped the ring onto my finger, and it fit perfectly. "Qingwei, I swear I'll love you for the rest of my life," he said earnestly, gazing into my eyes. "I'll never let you suffer any hardship." Moved by his sincerity, I felt my eyes grow moist. "Qinian, I swear too, this time I won't make any more mistakes. And I won't let you slip away again." We held each other tight in the jewelry store, like a prince and princess from a fairy tale. And all those past shadows, we left them far behind us. When I got home that evening, I received a call from my assistant. "Ms. Song, there's an update. Mourned was indeed arrested, but not by a gang. It was the Thai police who got him. He's facing multiple charges, including illegal entry, identity fraud, and financial scams. It looks like he's really done for this time." Hearing this, I felt a tumult of conflicting emotions. Mourned thought deception could buy her freedom, but she never imagined freedom came at a price. "Understood," I said. "Keep monitoring the situation, but don't intervene." "Yes, Miss Song." After hanging up, I walked to the window and gazed at the nightscape outside. Tomorrow is my wedding day, and Mourned will never be part of my life again. This time, it's truly over. On the wedding day, the weather was surprisingly beautiful. The sun was shining, and a gentle breeze was blowing, as if the heavens themselves were blessing us. I stood before the mirror in my pristine white wedding dress, giving my makeup one final check. I designed this dress myself, simple and elegant, without too much intricate detailing. It perfectly mirrors my state of mind right now, pure and beautiful. "You look absolutely stunning," the makeup artist said with genuine admiration. "Thank you," I replied with a smile. "This is the most important day of my life." An assistant approached and reported, "Miss Song, all the guests have arrived. Mr. Gu is waiting for you at the altar." I nodded and took a deep breath. This time, I'm marrying someone who truly loves me. The wedding venue was decorated with warmth, eschewing excessive opulence yet radiating thoughtful details everywhere. White rose petals carpeted the red aisle, while a delicate floral scent perfumed the air. As I appeared at the church entrance on my father's arm, the entire congregation rose to their feet, their eyes held no skepticism or whispers, only heartfelt blessings for the newlyweds. Gucci stood at the altar in a perfectly tailored black suit, his gaze overflowing with tenderness. When our eyes met, I saw tears glistening in his. Qingwei, you look absolutely stunning, father whispered softly in my ear. Qinian is a good man, he'll take good care of you. I know, Dad. I replied, this time I've made the right choice. Father placed my hand in Gucinian's and gave his shoulder a gentle pat. Qinian, I'm entrusting my most precious daughter to you. I will protect her with my life, Uncle. Gucinian bowed solemnly. The minister began officiating the ceremony, asking if we were willing to be joined in marriage. Gucinian, do you take Song Qingwei to be your wife, to love, honor, and protect her, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, until death do you part? I do. Gucinian declared in a clear and resolute voice. Song Qingwei, do you take Gucinian to be your husband, to love, honor, and support him, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, until death do you part? I do. My voice was soft yet resolute. Just as we were about to exchange rings, the church doors suddenly swung open. Everyone turned to see Mu Liang stumbling in alone, looking utterly distraught. He looked haggard, with stubble covering his face and his clothes in disarray. Qingwei, he shouted at the top of his lungs, you can't marry him. Chapter 4, Big Brother, he's really dead. The church erupted in an uproar. A murmur rippled through the crowd as some guests recognized Mu Liang, realizing he was Mu Han's younger brother. I watched Mu Liang in the audience without a flicker of emotion. Security, I said flatly. Security personnel immediately approached to escort Mu Liang out. But Mu Liang struggled desperately. Qingwei, listen to me. Our eldest brother is really dead. The Thai police just informed us that our eldest brother was killed in prison. Before he died, he kept calling your name, saying he was wrong, saying he was sorry for you. I watched Mu Liang's performance and said coldly, Mu Liang, Mu Han has been dead for 3 months. Nothing you say matters now. But, Mu Liang still wanted to say something. Drag him out, I commanded. The security guards immediately moved into action. Dragging Mu Liang out of the church, I turned to the pastor and said, please continue. The pastor nodded and continued with the ceremony. We exchanged rings and made our eternal vows. When the pastor announced that we were officially married, the room erupted in applause. Gucci pressed a gentle kiss to my forehead before drawing me into an embrace. Qingwei, from this day forward, we are truly family. Yes, I whispered, holding him tighter. This time, nothing will ever part us again. After the wedding ceremony, we hosted an intimate reception. All the guests came to congratulate us, their faces beaming with genuine smiles. No one mentioned Mu Han anymore, as if that person had never existed. In the evening, Gucci and I returned to our new home. It was a villa we had chosen together, decorated with simple yet cozy elegance. Are you tired, Qingwei? Gucci asked with concern. Not at all, I shook my head. This has been the happiest day of my life. Qinian, thank you for waiting for me all this time. Silly. Gucci gently stroked my cheek. When you love someone, no amount of waiting is too long. Looking into his sincere eyes, my heart swelled with boundless emotion. This is what true love really means. No deception, no betrayal, no scheming. All it takes is 2 genuine hearts facing each other. Married life has been even more wonderful than I ever imagined. Gucci treats me like a princess, always putting me first and never letting me feel the slightest bit wronged. And I love him with all my heart. Our bond grows stronger with each passing day. 2 months later, I unexpectedly found out I was pregnant. Really? Gucci stared at the test results, hands trembling with emotion. Are we going to have a baby? Yes. I nodded with a smile. You're going to be a father. Gucci carefully embraced me, cautious not to press against my stomach. Qingwei, this is wonderful. Our baby will be very happy. I continued his thought, because he has the best parents in the world. During that period, both Muliang and Mai vanished, and they never bothered us again. I thought that was the end of it, until one day, during a prenatal checkup at the hospital, I ran into Han Xiao. She looked haggard, had lost a lot of weight, and her eyes seemed hollow. She froze for a few seconds when she saw me, then walked over on her own initiative. Miss Song, her voice was soft. Congratulations. I glanced at her but said nothing. Miss Song, there's something I need to tell you, Han Xiao continued. Mu Han is really gone. I know, I said flatly. This time around, I won't make the same mistake again. Before he died, Han Xiao's tears fell. He said he was wrong, that he shouldn't have deceived you. He said if there's a next life, he would cherish you properly. As I listened to her words, I felt nothing inside. Han Xiao, do you really think I'd believe a word you say? Han Xiao froze for a moment. Miss Song, I'm not lying to you. Muhan truly regrets everything. Regret? I let out a cold laugh. Would he still be filled with remorse if you two had successfully eloped? Would he feel any regret at all if I hadn't uncovered the truth? Han Xiao. Muhan's regret is nothing more than frustration over his failed plan. Han Xiao lowered her head, not daring to speak another word. One more thing, Han Xiao, I said, looking at her. I hope this is the last time we see each other. I'm truly happy now, and I don't want the past to disturb my peace. Just then, my phone rang. Han Xiao nodded and then quietly walked away. It was an unknown number. Watching her retreating figure, I gently stroked my belly. My dear child, I've cleared away all the darkness for you. Now you can grow up in a pure world. 6 months later, I gave birth to a healthy baby girl. She has Guqinian's eyes and brows, but my lips, looking as adorable as a little angel. She looks like you, Guqinian said tenderly, cradling their daughter carefully in his arms, his eyes full of adoration. And like you, I replied with a smile. She's the embodiment of our love. We named our daughter Gunyan, hoping she would always be surrounded by love and remain pure and kind-hearted forever. Since our daughter was born, our lives have become busier, yet more fulfilling. Guqinian is a wonderful father. The first thing he does after work is play with our daughter. I too cherish the joys of motherhood, watching our little girl grow day by day. Sometimes I think back to my past self, that woman who ended up growing old alone. I would never have known this happiness without being reborn. I'm grateful to fate for giving me a second chance to choose my path in life again. There was silence on the other end of the line for a few seconds. When our daughter turned 1, we threw her a grand birthday party. All our friends came, and everyone said how adorable our daughter was. Qingwei, you're truly blessed, my best friend remarked with emotion. Guqinian treats you and Yanyan so well. Yes, I replied, watching Guqinian play with our daughter, my heart filled with gratitude. I've finally found true happiness. Those things from the past don't matter anymore. My best friend nodded. By the way, have you heard? Mu Liang and Mu Yi aren't doing well. I was taken aback. What's wrong? Mu Liang has racked up a lot of debt and is being hounded by creditors. I heard he's fled to another city. Mu Yi is still in the capital, but he's fallen on hard times, working for some small company now. Hearing this news brought me no satisfaction whatsoever. I no longer care about what happened to those people. All I care about now is my family, my husband and my daughter. Everything else is none of my concern. When my daughter was 3 years old, something unexpected happened. I was playing with my daughter in the park when a man suddenly approached us. It was Mu Yi. He looked much older than he did 3 years ago, with significantly more gray hair. Qingwei, he called my name, his voice trembling slightly. My daughter hid behind me, peering timidly at the stranger. Mommy, who is this man? My daughter asked in her tiny, milky voice. No one. I scooped up my daughter, ready to leave. Nyan Nyan. Let's go home. Qingwei, wait. Mu Yi caught up to us. I just wanted to see how you've been. I stopped in my tracks and turned to face him. We have nothing left to say. I know we've wronged you. Tears welled up in Mai's eyes, but I truly miss the old days, back when our family was still together. I looked at him, my heart tangled in conflicting emotions. In our past life, we truly lived like a family, and I genuinely considered them my closest kin. But I later discovered that it was all a lie. Mu Yi, let bygones be bygones, I said, holding my daughter tighter. I have my own family now, and I'm truly happy. I know, I can see that, Mu Yi replied, gazing at my daughter with admiration in his eyes. She's beautiful, just like you were when you were little. My daughter looked curiously at Mu Yi, then said to me, Mom, this man is crying. Yes, Mu Yi was crying. This 30-year-old man was weeping in the park, in front of strangers. I'm sorry, Qingwei, he choked out. We truly wronged you. If I could turn back time, I would never have let my brother do such a thing. I would have told you the truth and not let you be deceived for so long. As I looked at him, fragments of our childhood suddenly came back to me. Back then, Mu Yi was still young and would often follow me around, calling me Sister Qingwei. Once when I was sick, he secretly gave me the candy he'd been saving for himself. Back then, we truly felt like a real family. Later, for Muhan's sake, they chose to deceive me for the rest of my life. Mu Yi, some mistakes can't be undone once they're made. I murmured softly. I forgive you, but we can't go back to how things were. Mu Yi nodded. I understand. I just wanted to apologize to you, and thank you for taking us in all those years ago, for giving us a home. With that, he bowed deeply, then turned and walked away. My daughter asked in my arms, Mommy, why is that man crying? Because he did something wrong. I stroked my daughter's hair gently. Nyen Nyen, we must be honest people. we can't tell lies or hurt others, understand? I understand. My daughter nodded obediently. Mommy, let's go home and find Daddy. Chapter 5, okay. I carried my daughter and walked toward the parking lot. When I got home, Gucinian was already preparing dinner. Why are you back so late? He asked with concern. Something came up. I put our daughter down and told him what happened today. After hearing me out, Gucinian hugged me and said, Qingwei, let bygones be bygones. We're truly happy now. And that's all that matters. Yes, I leaned into his embrace. Qinian, I love you. I love you too. He kissed my forehead. Always will. I dreamed of the times when I used to play with Muhan and the others as children. We were so young back then, still naive to the ways of love and betrayal. In the dream, we were happy together, just like real siblings. When I woke up, I found my pillow damp. Turns out I'd been crying. It wasn't for Muhan, nor for that deceived affection. It was for those beautiful moments that have passed, for that once pure and innocent bond. Gucinian was woken by my stirring. Qingwei, what's wrong? It's nothing. Just a dream. I nestled into his embrace. Qinian, let's stay together forever. Okay, of course. He gently stroked my back. We'll always be together. Watching Nian Nian grow up, seeing her get married and have children, then we'll grow old together, right until our final moments. Hearing his words, my heart overflowed with boundless warmth. This is exactly the future I've always wanted. We don't need earth-shattering romance. Just a simple life spent together. Let bygones be bygones. And leave past grievances behind. What I have now is the best I could ever ask for. 5 years later, my daughter turned 8 and entered 2nd grade. She's bright, lovely, and excels in her studies. Our pride and joy, both Gucinian and I. That day, I was in a meeting at the office when I suddenly received a call from an unknown number. Is this Ms. Song Qingwei? I'm a nurse from Reincarnation Hospital. A patient named Mu Liang listed you as their emergency contact on the critical condition notice. His condition is critical. Could you come immediately? Mu Liang. I haven't heard that name in years. What's his diagnosis? I asked. It's late-stage leukemia, and further treatment wouldn't be meaningful. The nurse's voice was soft. He said you're the most important person to him, and he hopes to see you one last time. I stayed silent for a few seconds. I understand. I'll be there. After hanging up, I told my assistant to cancel my afternoon meetings and drove to the hospital. In the hospital room, Mu Liang lay on the bed, emaciated beyond recognition. When he saw me enter, he struggled to sit up but couldn't manage it. Qingwei, you came. His voice was faint. I thought you wouldn't come. I sat down by the bed. Mu Liang, how did you end up with this illness? I suppose it's karma. He gave a bitter smile. Qingwei, I know I have no right to ask anything of you, but I wanted to tell you I'm sorry. All these years I've been filled with regret for what I did to you back then. Seeing how haggard he looked, a wave of complicated emotions washed over me. Mu Liang, let's not dwell on the past anymore. Qingwei, you know what? Mu Liang's eyes glistened with tears. These years have been really hard for me. Every night I dream of our childhood, of when our whole family was together. You were so good to us back then, treating us like your own little brothers. But what about us? We chose to deceive you for our eldest brother's sake. Qingwei, can you ever forgive me? Seeing the plea in his eyes, my heart was tangled in conflicting emotions. Mu Liang, I forgave all of you long ago, I said softly. Holding grudges is exhausting. I refused to live weighed down by bitterness. Upon hearing my words, tears streamed down Mu Liang's face. Thank you, Qingwei. Having your forgiveness means I have no regrets left. Mu Liang, is there anything else you'd like to say? I asked. I want to know if you're doing well now. That's wonderful. I nodded. I have a loving husband and an adorable daughter now. We're truly happy. A relieved smile spread across Mu Liang's face. That's good to hear. Really good. Qingwei, would you show me a picture of your daughter? I took out my phone and showed him a picture of my daughter. She's so beautiful, Mu Liang said, looking at the photo with admiration in his eyes. Just like you when you were little. You must be a wonderful mother. I'll do my best, I replied. Qingwei, I need to ask you a favor. Mu Liang grasped my hand. He's not doing well these days. If you get the chance, could you look after him a little? I hesitated. Mu Liang, I know it's too much to ask. Mu Liang cut me off. But he's truly pitiful. With no one left to care for him, we grew up together since childhood. I can't just stand by and watch him struggle. Looking into Mu Liang's pleading eyes, I finally nodded and said, I will, thank you. Mu Liang's voice grew increasingly faint. Qingwei, thank you for giving us a home. Thank you for forgiving us. After saying this, Mu Liang slowly closed his eyes. He passed away peacefully, with a gentle smile on his face. Sitting by the hospital bed, I looked at his lifeless body and felt a wave of sorrow wash over me. No matter what, we were once family. I handled Muliang's funeral arrangements and also found he's had a rough life these past years. Living in a shabby little place and scraping by on odd jobs. When he heard about Muliang's death, he broke down sobbing like a child. Qingwei, thank you for arranging second brother's funeral, he choked out. I don't have any money. Don't worry about it, I said. Muyi, what are your plans for the future? I don't know, Muyi said uncertainly. I don't have any skills, I can only do manual labor. Tell you what, I said after a moment's thought, I have a farm in the suburbs. You could go there and help out, room and board are included, and the pay isn't bad either. Muyi froze for a moment. Qingwei, why are you helping me? Because of Mu Liang's dying wish, I said, and because we were once family. But Muyi, this is the last time. From now on, you must rely on your own efforts to live. You can't depend on anyone else anymore. Muyi nodded emphatically. I understand. I'll work hard and do my best. Thank you, Qingwei. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Seeing the gratitude on Muyi's face, a wave of complex emotions washed over me. Perhaps this is how fate intended it to be. After all these years of twists and turns, we're still ending up saying goodbye this way, but no matter what, I can walk away with a clear conscience. When I got home, Gu Qinian and our daughter were playing games in the living room. Seeing me come in, our daughter immediately ran over. Mom, you're back. Is Nian Nian being good today? I picked up my daughter. She's been very good. My daughter gave me a kiss on the cheek. Mom, what's wrong? You look a little sad. It's nothing. I'm just a bit tired. I smiled. Gu Qinian walked over and looked at me with concern. Qingwei, what happened? I told him what happened today. You did the right thing. Gu Qinian held me and our daughter close. Qingwei, your kind heart is what I love most about you. The grudges of the past are behind us now. We need to look forward. Yes, I leaned against his chest. Qinian, we still have a long future ahead of us. We should cherish it. That evening, the three of us sat on the balcony gazing at the stars. My daughter pointed at the sky and asked, Mom, do people really turn into stars after they die? Perhaps they do, I said, gently stroking her hair. If that's true, then those stars are the people watching over us from heaven. Then I hope all the stars are kind people, my daughter said innocently. Yes, I gazed at the star-filled sky. Nian Nian, always remember to be kind, to be honest, and to be grateful. That way, you'll become the brightest star up there. I understand, Mom. My daughter nodded obediently. In that moment, I felt like the happiest person in the world. Chapter 6, I have a loving husband, an adorable daughter, and a peaceful heart. All past grievances have been resolved, and the road ahead is still very long. I will cherish everything I have now, loving with all my heart and living with purpose. In this lifetime, I've finally come to understand what truly matters. Story 2. Everyone knew I was completely devoted to Jiang Wang. I took a knife for him, gave up everything, and lost all dignity for him. But when I was kidnapped, Jiang Wang mistakenly thought it was a trap I set to harm his beloved. He let the kidnappers punish me, his face mocking. Wen Xiao, stop your act, you disgust me. Only later did I realize I had mistaken the person. Going back to before the college entrance exams, in front of everyone's astonished gazes, I stopped that unruly young man without hesitation. Jiang Yi, I've come to see you. Jiang Wang stared at me intensely, his expression turning to despair. So you were never really concerned about me? When the kidnapper forced Jiang Wang to choose, he chose to save his beloved. That was within my expectations, protecting his pitiful beloved in his arms. Jiang Wang's impatience grew when he looked at me. Wen Xiao, have you had enough of your act? Get lost if you're done acting. It's truly nauseating. Even though the knife the kidnapper held at my neck was already drawing blood, Jiang Wang was convinced that this kidnapping scenario was a setup by me. All because his beloved said lightly, they were too gentle with Miss Wen. When she said this, she deliberately turned her head to show the slap mark on her face. That slap mark was made by the kidnappers half an hour before Jiang Wang arrived. Under her command, Jiang Wang believed it. Since Mr. Jiang has made his choice, this one is left for the brothers, said the kidnapper leader with a malicious grin. In front of Jiang Wang, he began tearing my clothes. Jiang Wang paused for a moment, but soon, he acted as if nothing happened. Wen Xiao, his tone cold. I don't have time to play house with you, but since you want to act, you could have made it more realistic. How could I believe this performance otherwise? Jiang Wang looked at me, his eyes filled with familiar scorn. Jiang Wang, I called him, suddenly smiling. I think I made a mistake. Everyone knew I was utterly devoted to Jiang Wang, so devoted that I had no dignity. At his beck and call, even though Jiang Wang was sick of me, I could rush out in the middle of the night because of a phone call only to be mocked by Jiang Wang's friends as just like a dog. I would also prepare a banquet for Jiang Wang when I was sick, even though it was a celebration for his beloved, until, in his study, I saw a photo. Jiang Wang had a twin brother unknown to others. He died at 17, staring at the photo with the wildly written Yi. I felt as if I had made a mistake. So, I spent much effort investigating Jiang Yi. But the information I found was scarce. All I knew was that Jiang Yi was accused of attempted assault on a girl at 17. The Jiang family felt humiliated and suppressed all news, along with erasing the existence of Jiang Yi. I instinctively didn't believe it, but before I could find the truth, I was kidnapped. Jiang Wang didn't react immediately. After a while, he sneered, "How odd. I thought you believed everything you did was right." Jiang Wang despised me. Largely because I was placed by his parents to be by his side. He felt my presence was a form of surveillance, and a humiliation. Only this one thing, the pain in my body was becoming numb. Jiang Wang's beloved wasn't easy to deal with. She instructed the men to hit where the clothes covered. I swallowed the taste of iron in my throat and said softly, "Only this one thing I did wrong." Jiang Wang laughed out loud. He seemed to want to say more, but his gaze suddenly froze, because the kidnappers, following their orders, threw me, bound hand and foot, off the boat. This probably wasn't anticipated by Jiang Wang. In the second before being thrown overboard, I vaguely saw Jiang Wang rushing towards me, but it didn't matter anymore. I seemed to have been reborn. I stared blankly at the washed-out, ill-fitting clothes on my body. Pale and slender hands, covered with calluses, were forcefully dragging me along. During the years I spent with Jiang Wang, I had taken great care of my hands, and they were free from any calluses, accompanied by familiar insults. "What's the use of a girl reading books? I think you've been led astray, thinking your wings are strong enough to fly. What can you achieve by reading? In the end, you'll just end up benefiting someone else. The match arranged by your family is not bad. Why reject it? I'm telling you, I've already taken the money. Even if you don't want to marry, you have to, for your brother needs that money to buy a house." I was momentarily stunned, forgetting to struggle, letting the woman who was nominally my mother drag me several meters across the ground. My thin clothes were worn through, scraping large patches of blood. The pain snapped me back to reality, and I instinctively tried to break free. "Let me go." However, my malnourished body was no match for a woman accustomed to farm work. Dark memories I had almost managed to forget, along with a deep-seated fear, quickly overwhelmed me. I gritted my teeth to suppress a scream, pulling back with one hand while the other fumbled in my backpack. I always kept a utility knife in my backpack. Just as I grasped the utility knife, a flamboyant voice from my memories rang out, "Damn, are human traffickers this bold now? Starting to snatch decent girls in broad daylight." It was a familiar tone, familiar words. I stared dazedly at the backlit figure of the boy, feeling inexplicably distressed. In my previous life, it was the same. There were few people on this road during the lunch break. My mother had tricked me into coming out, then tried to forcefully take me back. But Jiang Yi appeared and stopped her. He gave my mother some money, asking her not to disturb my studies. Later, when I couldn't afford school, it was a company that sponsored me. The owner of that company was surnamed Jiang. Really, the hair. Jiang Yi opened his mouth, saw my mother's short hair, and abruptly changed his words. "Short, just like her insight." Impatiently, he pulled out a wallet from his school uniform pocket and took out a stack of money. "Isn't it just money you want? Here, take this and don't disturb her studies anymore." My mother was immediately overjoyed. She counted the money with saliva, then shamelessly pretended to be in a difficult position. "Young master, this amount isn't quite enough." Jiang Yi clicked his tongue. The 16 or 17-year-old boy, tall and striking, naturally attracted a lot of attention. He took off the ring on his finger intending to throw it to my mother. "Exchange this then." My mother, grinning, reached out to catch it, but I snatched it away first. Her face darkened, and she raised her hand as if to hit me. "You ungrateful girl." But she did not strike, because my utility knife was pointed at her. "That man only gave you 1,000 for the bride price," I said breathlessly, glaring at her. "This stack is at least 2,000. That's enough. 1,000 for a bride price, and he thinks he can get a wife. What kind of fool is he?" Jiang Yi spoke disdainfully. He subtly moved closer to me, effectively blocking my mother from approaching. I tightened my grip on the utility knife, expressionless. "If you keep being unreasonable, I don't mind going down together. Aren't you most concerned about your beloved son?" Perhaps the desperate resolution in my eyes frightened my mother. She dared not ask for the ring again, muttering a few dirty words before fleeing like a scared animal. I kept holding the utility knife, until my mother's figure had completely disappeared, until Jiang Yi suddenly chuckled, patted my head lightly, his tone teasing, "You look so frail. Yet you dare to pull out a knife, what? At such a young age you think you can kill." I remained silent, just quietly put away the utility knife, then quietly stared at Jiang Yi. He looked exactly like the Jiang Wang I knew, only much younger. The only slight difference was a small black mole on the tip of Jiang Yi's nose, but you wouldn't notice unless you looked closely. "What are you staring at me for?" Jiang Yi touched his nose uncomfortably, exaggeratedly hard. "You're not admitting that you dare to kill, are you?" I still didn't answer, so Jiang Yi paused, then muttered softly. Jiang Yi didn't return to school, instead aimlessly wandering the streets. I followed Jiang Yi, until he gradually became impatient. "What? Are you going to the men's bathroom too?" He deliberately emphasized the words men's bathroom. My eyes landed on the school uniform tied around his waist, and I asked irrelevantly, "Why aren't you in class? It wasn't lunch break anymore. Why aren't you?" Jiang Yi retorted with a laugh. I took a leave. He was momentarily speechless, his expression turning sour. I thought Jiang Yi would get angry, but he just raised his hand to ruffle his hair and then pointed at me. I was confused. "Brother here is going to rescue poor girls like you," he said with great earnestness. Studying would only slow down my pace of becoming a world hero. It was quite melodramatic, completely different from Jiang Wang, but I still mistook him for someone else, in an instant. An indescribable despair and sadness overwhelmed me, making it hard to breathe. My figure wavered, startling Jiang Yi. "What's wrong, young lady? What's your name?" I heard my own voice, hoarse. I grabbed Jiang Yi's arm. The youth was slender, but his forearms were surprisingly muscular. "Jiang." I saw him form the word Wang with his lips, so I interrupted. "I need to know your name so I can find the right person to repay later." "Right." I had intended to return a ring to Jiang Yi, but he refused. "It's just a useless ornament to me." Jiang Yi tossed the ring into my backpack without a second glance. "But it might be worth some money. Unlike you, I'm not short on cash." That gave me an excuse to repay him. I stared at Jiang Yi unblinkingly until he looked away, uncomfortable. "You're surprisingly strong for a young lady." He suddenly laughed, then effortlessly broke free from my grip. "Do you really want to repay me?" "Yes, that little thing is just a metal ring, but it's somewhat valuable. There will come a day when I can afford it." "You're really stubborn," Jiang Yi muttered under his breath, but he quickly smiled, patted my head, and said, "All right then, remember this, Jiang Yi. My name is Jiang Yi." After telling me his name, Jiang Yi refused to say much more. On the way back, I tried to strike up a conversation with him, but every time I tried to learn more about him, he skillfully changed the topic. His face always bore that carefree, heartless smile, so I had to temporarily give up. "You're really good at studying." At the school gate, Jiang Yi suddenly blurted out this seemingly random remark. I didn't catch on at first and just nodded in response before looking up at him, then realizing belatedly, "You know me, the top student who always outperforms Jiang Wang." "When Xiao." Jiang Yi grinned. "I know you." I had many more questions for Jiang Yi, but the school guard had spotted us and shouted, "What are those two students doing outside during class time? Are you skipping class to go on a date?" "No." I instinctively turned to explain to the guard, but just as I began to speak, I felt a faint voice near my ear, accompanied by the fresh scent of the young man. He whispered, "Keep it up. I'm counting on you to deflate that smug kid." Jiang Yi hummed a laugh, then turned and ran off before the guard could reach us. He didn't look back, but it was as if he knew I was watching him. He casually waved his hand behind him. The afternoon sun shone on his hair, casting a hint of red amidst the black. I thought I saw it wrong, but he quickly disappeared into the shadows around the corner. "Where's the other boy?" "Not from our school. You young people these days." The guard came over, his voice droning on as he lectured. I stood there quietly listening, but paused when my hand, slipping into my pocket, touched something hard. It was Jiang Yi's ring. After confirming it was his, I sneakily put it back when he wasn't paying attention. I already owed Jiang Yi too much. "We need to keep moving forward." His carefree voice seemed to echo in my ears again. It must have been then that he slipped the ring back into the pocket of my school uniform. The incessant chatter of the gatekeeper uncle continued. I gripped the ring tightly, my lips tugging into a small smile. Well, having too many debts is pretty much the same as having a few. For me, returning to high school was not a joyful occasion. The oppression from my family, the strange looks from classmates, bullying, and teachers' favoritism, these were enough to once make me collapse into my own little world, filled with inferiority, until I met Jiang Yi again. "Why is it you again?" Jiang Yi, cigarette in mouth, looked at me somewhat surprised and clicked his tongue. Maybe you should visit a temple one day, your forehead looks dark, seems like bad luck sticks to you, he said meaningfully. Behind Jiang Yi, several girls brought by his thuggish followers trembled in fear. I quietly picked up my books that were scattered in the mud and had been stepped on several times, just like in my previous life. These people still took pleasure in bullying me. And just like before, Jiang Yi would appear to rescue me. The difference, perhaps, was that I wasn't knocked unconscious this time, and Jiang Yi didn't leave immediately after taking me to the hospital. He scratched his head and squatted down to help me pick up my books. I'm serious, Jiang Yi smirked. Both times I see you, you're being bullied. Don't you really want to go pray? I know a temple that's quite efficacious. He started laughing at his own joke, you know. I really feel like a hero saving the beauty right now. Brother Yi, you're the hero, but this girl hardly counts as a beauty. One of the followers couldn't help but interject. Always you with the unnecessary comments, Jiang Yi cursed. He was about to comfort me, but upon seeing my dry hair and ill-fitting old-school uniform, he fell into an awkward silence. Finally, he turned stiffly to his follower. Got a tissue or handkerchief? Brother Yi. Didn't you say carrying those things makes one look effeminate? Jiang Yi choked. He glanced instinctively at the pale-faced girls, then disdainfully shifted his gaze. Forget it, using theirs would be unlucky. With a cold snort, Jiang Yi simply raised his sleeve to wipe the mud off the books before handing them to me. He didn't care at all about staining his expensive jacket. See if the notes in the book are still usable. The hand that passed me the book was slender and fair. Though the fingertips were somehow smeared with dirt, I suddenly remembered, in my previous life when I woke up in the hospital, the stack of books that had been carefully dried and placed close to my bed. Jiang Yi. I snapped back to reality, not opening the book but instead looking up at Jiang Yi, restraining the tremble in my voice. I can't find you. I can't find Jiang Yi. Aside from knowing his name and that he is Jiang Wang's older brother, I really don't know much about Jiang Yi. I remember the school uniform tied around his waist that day, which was the standard issue for Yizhong, but Yizhong had no Jiang Yi, only Jiang Wang, and Jiang Yi would die silently in his 17th year, that very year, but I can't find Jiang Yi, not in my past life, nor in this one. Such realization instinctively made me panic, so I decided to take a gamble. I followed these girls, listening to their unreserved insults and ridicule. Watching as my backpack was torn off and the books inside mercilessly trampled upon, Jiang Yi appeared. He raised an eyebrow, looking at me with disdain and speechlessness. Why is it you again? Jiang Yi was taken aback by my words. It was almost a reflex. You can't beat me. As soon as the words left his mouth, Jiang Ye's younger brother couldn't help but burst out laughing. Realizing his reaction, he coughed awkwardly, and hastily stuffed the book into my hands. He pointed at himself. Am a typical small-time thug. Then pointing at me, he added, you are a top student who could outperform Jiang Wang in the unified exams. It makes no sense for you to hang out with me. Jiang Yi started laughing himself as he spoke. It was only when he met my silent gaze that his smile gradually faded. Wait, are you serious? Jiang Yi's tone grew frantic. I even heard him mutter under his breath, I'm doomed. If Mr. Du finds out you want to follow me, he'll chop me in half. Mr. Du was my homeroom teacher in my freshman year, and the only teacher who was truly kind to me. Jiang Yi knew Mr. Du. It's even possible that he had a good relationship with him. I quietly noted this and then called out to him, Jiang Yi. What? I smiled at him and then walked up to the girl who was leading the group. A series of crisp slaps rang out. Everyone, including Jiang Yi, was stunned. Only the girl started screaming hysterically. There's a fruit knife in my backpack, I said calmly. Continuing, I actually have nothing, so I'm not afraid of losing anything. Jiang Wang once called me a calm maniac. Once, a man was slashing people randomly on the street while Jiang Wang was out shopping with his newfound love who had just returned from abroad. I took a hit for Jiang Wang, and used that incident to subdue the attacker. Jiang Wang was terrified at that moment, his hands trembling as he covered my wound. Maniac. He cursed me, his eyes red. No matter how calm you pretend to be normally, you're still a maniac at heart. I didn't say anything, just looked at Jiang Wang and smiled. At that time, I treated Jiang Wang as if he were Jiang Yi, so I had to protect him. He was right all along. I am indeed a maniac. Are you scared? I looked at the girl who had suddenly shut up and gave her a reassuring smile. There's nothing to be afraid of, after all. I haven't had the chance yet. Fuck. Jiang Yi was the first to jump up. He cursed under his breath and without another word, he pulled me to his side, away from the girl. Then he looked down and asked me, where did you get the knife? Didn't I take away your utility knife? That ring you gave me could buy many. Jiang Yi was taken aback, his expression turning more ferocious as he raised his voice. Did I give you that thing to go buy knives? So, Jiang Yi, I'm not the good student you think I am. I looked up at Jiang Yi, long ago. When my parents wouldn't allow me to go to school and I was bullied repeatedly, the thread of sanity within me was always taut. So taut that even a single straw could break it completely. My utility knife has always been with me. So, the Jiang Yi of my past life would never know what a great thing he had inadvertently done. So, Jiang Yi. I licked my somewhat dry lips, cautiously grabbing a small piece of Jiang Yi's shirt. Can I follow you? I had followed Jiang Wang numerous times. But this only made him dislike me more. I wanted to follow Jiang Yi. I wanted to protect him, but I didn't want him to hate me. So I quickly let go of Jiang Yi's shirt and waited quietly for his judgment. Jiang Yi's younger brother gasped repeatedly. Then there was some cheering, but Jiang Yi remained silent, until after a long moment. 3 strikes, he bent down to pick up my backpack, took out the fruit knife from it, and clicked his tongue, but after a glance, Jiang Yi stuffed it back in, along with the books he had cleaned, then he handed them all back to me. He said, the third time we meet, I will give you my answer. Perhaps shocked by my actions that day, Jiang Yi had his subordinates take turns following me until they saw me safely home before they left. Thanks to the money Jiang Yi gave. My mother was somewhat pacified for a while, though she would occasionally yell in a high-pitched voice, the little beast I raised dares to threaten me with a knife. It's like the world has turned upside down. But she didn't dare say it to my face or hit me, because my dad was out working and not at home. I ignored her, only occasionally sharpening my knife in front of her, which scared her into repeatedly telling my younger brother to stay away from me. The classmates who bullied me that day were also disciplined. Mr. Du personally intervened and contacted their parents. The culprits tried to argue back, but they didn't expect Mr. Du to be so unwilling to talk more, and he directly showed a video in front of their parents. The video was provided by Jiang Yi. Maybe he had done something similar in his past life. Nothing could be more persuasive than this video, even when a few girls accused me of carrying a fruit knife to threaten them. No one believed them. Thus, I became the clear victim in this bullying incident. They were forced to publicly apologize to me, their heads bowed. After everyone else had left the office, Mr. Du finally asked me, where's the knife? The girl I had supposedly threatened had clamored to search my backpack but found nothing she hoped to see. After a tense moment with Mr. Du, I silently patted my pocket. Mr. Du's eyes widened. He was so angry that he had to drink a cup of cold tea to calm down. All troublemakers, he pointed at me and scolded, just like Jiang Yi. Both of you are stubborn and unruly. No wonder that brat repeatedly reminded me to keep an eye on you. I thought you were a gentle girl, but it turns out you're not. I stood there silently listening to the scolding, which only made Mr. Du angrier. He slammed his hand on the desk. Even now, you have the same indifferent attitude as Jiang Yi. It was only interrupted by the bell for the next period, when Xiao, remember. He waved me off to class but then called me back with a serious look. There are many paths you can take. If one doesn't work, switch to another. Why let yourself be suffocated? Your life is still long. There's no need to ruin it over a moment of impulsiveness. I nodded, then asked Mr. Du, why doesn't Jiang Yi come to school? Jiang Yi. Mr. Du wasn't surprised that I asked about Jiang Yi. He laughed and scolded, what am I? A head of intelligence. If you want to know about him, go ask him yourself. All I can say is that Jiang Yi also has his own path to follow. I nodded, showing I understood. I don't know what path Jiang Yi is on, but I know that this time, I will try my best to ensure that Jiang Yi can continue on his path safely and smoothly. This is the path I have chosen for myself. When I saw Jiang Yi again, it was a week later at a physics competition. The competition was held at another school, and he came to pick up Jiang Wang and take him home. This was also my first meeting with Jiang Wang since my rebirth. He was much thinner than Jiang Yi and had a friendly smile on his face. Despite having the same face, I could now easily distinguish between the two. My seat was right in front of Jiang Wang. He was slightly startled when he saw me, then gave me a slightly stiff but gentle smile. It was nothing like the sharp and mocking tone of our past life. I quickly looked away, quietly waiting for the competition to start. Do I hate Jiang Wang? Not really. After all, from the beginning, it was me who mistook him for someone else. And then I thought I was being kind by following him around, constantly clinging to him. It's only normal that Jiang Wang didn't like me. Jiang Wang finished his exam a few minutes before I did. When I exited the school, I saw him standing with Jiang Yi. Jiang Yi was wearing a baseball cap and a mask, casually draping his arm over Jiang Wang's shoulders, his relaxed demeanor completely different from Jiang Wang's. I walked towards Jiang Yi. Jiang Wang saw me first. He was slightly taken aback, instinctively wanting to turn his head, but he couldn't help but let a small smile creep across his lips. From start to finish, Jiang Wang's gaze was fixed on me. It wasn't until he saw me bypassing him to stand by Jiang Ye's side. Jiang Yi. My eyes were on Jiang Yi the whole time. I've come to see you. This was our third meeting. Jiang Yi had mentioned that on our third meeting, he would give me the answer I was seeking. Even disguised like this, you still recognize me. Jiang Yi was surprised, then laughed and teased. You really are stubborn. Shall we go for a meal? It's my treat. I nodded. I didn't look at Jiang Wang, so I didn't notice the color drain from his face the moment I called out Jiang Yi. He turned pale. Jiang Wang, are you coming? Jiang Yi asked again. It's just a regular noodle shop. You might not be used to it. Jiang Wang, born into a wealthy family, was very particular about what he ate and drank. On this, he was quite different from Jiang Yi. I thought Jiang Wang would refuse. Okay, unexpectedly, he agreed. His voice was a bit hoarse. The noodle shop owner was an acquaintance of Jiang Yi and even served us extra side dishes. Jiang Yi and I were quite satisfied with the meal. Jiang Wang, however, only took a few bites before putting down his chopsticks, unable to hide his displeasure. I knew you wouldn't like it. Jiang Yi mocked, handing him a bottle of mineral water. Maybe you should just have Uncle Wang pick you up and take you home. No need. Jiang Wang refused. He looked at me, his eyes filled with an unreadable emotion. How did you meet my brother? Your brother saved me. I thought for a moment and decided to tell Jiang Wang, twice, so I'm really grateful to him. This young lady is the one I told you about before. Jiang Yi opened a bottle of beer, then raised an eyebrow at me. Drink. I shook my head. He laughed again. See, this is the girl who doesn't smoke or drink but had the guts to confront those who bullied her with a knife. That seemed to astonish Jiang Wang. He mumbled something under his breath and finally only said softly, I had no idea. You think just because you're a bit smarter, you know everything. Jiang Yi clearly misunderstood Jiang Wang's remark, and Jiang Wang didn't bother to explain further. Soon after, Uncle Wang arrived and took Jiang Wang away. You know the second young master is unwell, yet you still bring him to places like this. Uncle Wang's tone was noticeably less respectful towards Jiang Yi than towards Jiang Wang, even carrying a hint of reproach, in my memory. Because of Jiang Wang's poor health, the entire Jiang family was extremely cautious around him, yet even so, this attitude towards Jiang Yi was something I couldn't help but feel angry about, so I stepped in front of Jiang Yi, my tone harsh. Jiang Wang chose to come, and Jiang Yi tried to dissuade him. Jiang Wang's eyelashes trembled, and he looked up at me, seemingly in disbelief, but Jiang Yi just chuckled and nudged me, teasing, standing in front of me. You think if something really happened, your little frame could stop anything. He always carried this carefree demeanor, even when misunderstood. He wasn't keen on explaining himself. This instantly ignited a nameless rage within me, directed at Jiang Yi. I glared at him fiercely, perhaps sensing that I was genuinely angry. Jiang Yi touched his nose uncomfortably, then skillfully began to placate. It was just a joke. Our sister Qiao is so formidable, she could take down 10 strong men by herself. I remained silent. He continued to glare at him. It was indeed my decision to come along. Jiang Wang suddenly spoke up, his voice rough. It has nothing to do with my brother. Uncle Wang looked somewhat embarrassed, but in the end, he just glanced at Jiang Yi and left with Jiang Wang. Keep glaring and your eyeballs will fall out. A sudden coolness touched my face. It was Jiang Yi holding an ice-cold coke to my cheek. Your face is all red from anger. I don't even know what you're mad about. Though he said that, his eyes were full of a teasing sparkle. Why won't you explain? I suddenly remembered the information I had gathered about Jiang Yi in my past life. Uneducated, violent, troublemaker. These had almost become synonyms for Jiang Yi, but I didn't believe them. Jiang Yi thought for a moment, then answered me very seriously, because I was born without a mouth. Jiang Yi grunted, then pressed down hard on my head. Your brother Yi isn't deaf, I can hear you. But clearly, Jiang Wang and I look exactly alike. Jiang Yi cut me off. He leaned down, his bright eyes intently fixed on me, a rare seriousness in his demeanor. He's good-looking, has a great personality, and excellent academic performance. Whether you want someone to look up to or just like this face, he would be a better choice. If you think you owe me because I've helped you out before, you really don't have to. Jiang Yi chuckled lightly. He straightened up, his voice casual. I'm full of flaws. The only good thing about me might be my occasional acts of kindness. I can't pass by a stray cat or dog without giving it a sausage, or a beggar without throwing a few coins, let alone a poor girl. The anger in my heart gradually subsided. I quietly watched Jiang Yi, feeling his deliberate distance again. He seemed to care about nothing. but I noticed his hand trembling slightly as he spoke. His words did not match his feelings, so I told Jiang Yi, when I was born. My mother wanted to strangle me. She had always wanted a son, but ended up having 2 daughters. However, she didn't succeed because the villagers stopped her. Later, she wanted to sell me, but I knew my way back home. They didn't want me to go to school because they thought girls should ultimately benefit someone else's family, and it would be better to spend the money on nice clothes for a son. So I've always worked hard to pay for my own tuition, giving them no excuse to make me drop out. Jiang Yi fell silent too. So Jiang Yi, you will never know how heroic you were that day when you stopped my mom. My vision gradually blurred. I couldn't even see Jiang Yi clearly anymore. Jiang Wang is great, but even if he is the best person in the world, he is not the light I want to chase. So even if you really don't need, I opened my mouth, but suddenly couldn't continue. What if Jiang Yi didn't need it? What if Jiang Yi, like Jiang Wang, really didn't need my useless reciprocation? I suddenly became bewildered, even somewhat at a loss, until Jiang Yi suddenly burst into laughter. He laughed exaggeratedly. He even covered his face with his hands, his shoulders shaking. It's the first time someone has described me as their light, considering I'm usually called trash or mud. After he had laughed enough, he lowered his hands, still smiling at me. Then, with a resigned yet indulgent tone, he repeated, Wen Xiao. You really are a strange stubborn creature, but you're quite like me, Jiang Yi added, his smile bright. Jiang Yi allowed me to stay by his side. I thought it was so I could repay him more, but in reality, it was often Jiang Yi who took care of me. Every time he bought breakfast, he'd get an extra portion, saying a younger brother had left, but he was used to buying it already. If you don't want to eat it, just let Joe throw it away. So, I was able to have breakfast every day. Jiang Yi always asked me to share more interesting stories from school whenever we met. There's not much to do usually, and when people get bored, they look for some fun. Jiang Yi chuckled. I remember there were quite a few oddballs at No. 2 middle school. Make sure you tell me about them. Don't know any, just go ask around. I rarely interacted with others, so naturally, I didn't know about these peculiar stories from No. 2 middle school, but these were the stories Jiang Yi wanted to hear, so I started making an effort to talk to my classmates, and then during our meetings, I would meticulously recount the gossip I heard to Jiang Yi. He always found it hilariously entertaining. I really want to know how you can keep a straight face while telling such funny stories. As Jiang Yi wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes laughing, he encouraged me, keep it up. There are more oddballs at No. 2 waiting for you to discover. So, I continued to engage with more classmates, sharing gossip and stories about the oddities at No. 2 middle school, until one day, my usually aloof desk mate remarked with emotion, I used to think you were some unapproachable, aloof top student who disdained talking to us. I didn't realize you also enjoyed gossip. It seems we have more in common than I thought. It was then I realized that my relationship with my classmates had warmed considerably. For the first time, I truly felt integrated into the class. When I met with Jiang Yi next, I earnestly told him, I want to really do something for you. Jiang Yi smiled and then asked, do you think gratitude can only be shown through one-sided giving? I was momentarily stunned. During the years I mistook Jiang Wang for Jiang Yi. I had always acted this way. I followed Jiang Wang's wishes, protected him, and did everything for him, even if it meant he might tire of me. I had tried to repay Jiang Wang for 5 years in this way. Isn't that how it is? Jiang Yi seemed unsurprised by my reaction and patiently asked me, you told me the gossip from No. 2, which entertained me. Isn't that true? I hesitated for a moment, then nodded. I was happy. So can that be considered your way of repaying me? I responded gloomily. So, what are you struggling with? Jiang Yi looked at me with a smile. Wen Xiao, why don't you try a way that also makes you happy? Jiang Yi told me that even gratitude could follow a different path, a path that doesn't need to be thorny. On that path, you can also meet very warm people. You're young, yet you overthink. Jiang Yi teased me again. If you really want to do something, just lend me your notes for a few days. Most of the boys he led had dropped out of school due to family reasons. Jiang Yi always said he was leading a group of delinquents, but in reality, since meeting Jiang Yi, these people never did anything bad again. Nowadays, even delinquents need to be educated, Jiang Yi told me seriously, otherwise, they might go out and think insults are compliments. Notes from a future top scorer in the college entrance exam. It's definitely a win for us. Jiang Yi was always confident that I would be the top scorer. He had always believed his younger brother would be the future top scorer, yet I had surpassed Jiang Wang in the unified exam, proving to be even more capable than his brother. However, When the notes were returned, they were even more meticulously organized, especially the mathematics notes. The key points I had overlooked were highlighted and thoughtfully linked to previously learned concepts. Jiang Yi suggested that perhaps one of his promising protégés had been discovered, but Xiao Zhou secretly told me that Jiang Yi had organized the notes. Although Brother Yi is biased towards certain subjects, he's especially good at math. Xiao Zhou looked proud as he said this. Then why doesn't he come to school? This was the second time I asked this question, but I received the same response, that, you'll have to ask Brother Yi yourself. Xiao Zhou scratched his head. Looking somewhat troubled, Brother Yi doesn't let us talk about it, so, I asked Jiang Yi. I thought you would hold off for a while before asking. Jiang Yi was smoking a cigarette. As he approached me, he extinguished it and stepped back a little. Will you tell me then? I stared at Jiang Yi's red hair. What I saw that day was not an illusion. Jiang Yi had dyed his hair a striking red, whereas when we first met, he had replaced his sick brother Jiang Wang to attend school, wearing a black wig. No, Jiang Yi honestly told me, little Woody, knowing more about me isn't a good thing. Jiang Yi said my name was Woody and that I was as wooden as my name, so, I didn't press further. Instead, I copied the notes Jiang Yi had organized for me again and distributed them to my classmates. The end-of-month test was coming up soon. Oh my god. After the exam, my deskmate hugged me, jumping up and down. Jojo, your notes were a lifesaver, especially for science. I overlooked several points, but they were all on the test. Ah, I absolutely love you. Several other classmates who used the notes also came to thank me. This drew more people over. What notes? What notes? Save me, God. I lent them the notes, then told them, it wasn't me who organized them, it was Jiang Yi. Jiang Yi, a well-informed classmate's face changed, the twin brother of Jiang Wang from first middle school. I was taken aback, then nodded, yes, then I don't want them. He immediately threw down the notes he had picked up, his face filled with disgust. A scumbag who raped a girl in junior high and caused her death. What good notes could he produce? I advise you to stay away from him. Such a scumbag might commit a crime any day now. He's just trash that misbehaves because his family has some money. With each mention of scumbag and trash, his tone was condescending and full of disdain, unsatisfied. He stomped on the notes several times as if he had touched some filthy mud. His words stunned everyone. I stared blankly at the noticeable footprints on the notes. My mind went blank. By the time I snapped back to reality, I was already scuffling with him. 16. Of course, my mom wouldn't come to school, and old Du was conveniently out of town. In the end, it was Jiang Yi who found someone to settle this matter for me. Now I know why you insist on following me around, you brat, Jiang Yi sneered. You're just looking for someone to clean up your mess. I kept my head down, silent. Although I was actually 8 years older than 17-year-old Jiang Yi, I was scolded into silence by him. Unexpectedly, Jiang Wang also showed up. He stood silently by Jiang Yi's side, his eyes deep as he watched him tend to my wounds. Then, when Jiang Yi stepped out for a bit, he suddenly said, when Xiao doesn't fight. I continued my bandaging without pause, so he repeated softly. 16-year-old Wen Xiao doesn't fight because she is timid and afraid of causing trouble, but 25-year-old Wen Xiao does, she fights fiercely. Towards the end, Jiang Wang's voice noticeably trembled. He stared at me intently, his eyes reddening, finally choking up. So Wen Xiao, you've come back too, haven't you? 17. I rarely reminisce about my high school days, but Jiang Wang's affirmative, because she is timid and afraid of causing trouble, unexpectedly made me laugh. You're right, I smiled at Jiang Wang, my eyes curving. So after that bullying incident, 16-year-old Wen Xiao was forcibly taken back home. She couldn't take the college entrance exam and later relied on the Jiang family's support to continue her studies and attend university. With this nearly confessional honesty, Jiang Wang's eyes lit up instantly. She accepted the Jiang family's kindness and ought to repay them, later. She saw the young man who had helped her back then in the Jiang family, and she felt even more indebted to this family. I paused, then shook my head somewhat helplessly. I never regret what I've done, but Jiang Wang, I think I really made a mistake this time. Wen Xiao, Jiang Wang, sensing what I was about to say, began breathing rapidly. His health was poor, and now he was gasping heavily, his face devoid of color. So, I didn't continue. If something were to happen to Jiang Wang, Jiang Yi would be very worried. I'm not surprised to hear about Jiang Wang's rebirth. It's not that I had foreseen it, but as for me now, whether it's the 17-year-old Jiang Wang or the 25-year-old Jiang Wang, he really doesn't matter much to me anymore. Jiang Wang understands this about me. So, after calming himself down, he almost gritted his teeth and asked me, so it was never about me that you cared, was it? So after you found out the truth, you couldn't even spare a thought for me, right? I remained silent. Desperation crept into Jiang Wang's eyes. He stepped forward and grabbed my wrist, squeezing it as if he wanted to crush me. He demanded, word by word, what makes you think you can just say I did something wrong and let it all pass easily? When Xiao, on what grounds? So, I paid the price too. It hurt a bit from his grip, but it was still within my tolerance. I smiled at Jiang Wang and said softly, so I died. Isn't that price enough to satisfy you? The word died seemed to touch a sensitive nerve in Jiang Wang. He let go of my hand and gave a miserable smile. Right, so you died, you deserved it. The usual gentleness was gone from Jiang Wang, and he revealed his thorns again. When Xiao, you should see what you looked like after you died, when they pulled you out of the water. Your body was so swollen by the water that your face was unrecognizable. You should really see how hideous you looked after death. He seemed to be trying to provoke my anger with these words, but what Jiang Wang didn't know was that a long time ago, I had already let go of such useless emotions. So I sighed, then it must have been hard on you to bother retrieving my body, costing quite a bit of money, right? My words caught Jiang Wang off guard. He wanted to say more, but was interrupted by Jiang Yi walking in. What body? He had overheard some words and looked at us both suspiciously, then laughed it off. You just hurt your hand, right? Don't worry, you won't die. But if you fight again next time, I promise I'll beat you to death first. Jiang Yi stared at me, finally pulling a sinister smile. I turned my head pretending not to hear, which annoyed him so much that he reached out and tousled my hair, cursing me as a stubborn blockhead. Jiang Wang watched our interaction, remaining silent. As for the fight, it eventually blew over, but because of it, I finally learned why Jiang Yi couldn't continue his schooling. Years ago, someone saw a girl running out of an alley disheveled and terrified. She was so panicked that she didn't see the traffic and ran into the street, where she was hit by a car. Afterward, Jiang Yi also ran out. The girl didn't die but ended up in a vegetative state, still lying in the hospital to this day. There were no cameras in that area, so Jiang Yi, who ran out following her, was labeled by everyone as the culprit, even though Jiang Yi explained many times that it wasn't him, that he was just trying to save the girl, and because they couldn't find the man who allegedly tried to assault her, and the only witness who could clear Jiang Yi's name was still comatose in the hospital, everyone thought it was just an excuse from him. No one believed him, including his own parents. Everyone thought Jiang Yi was just a troublemaker. And the words of a troublemaker couldn't be trusted. What Jiang Yi's parents did was forcibly withdraw him from school, bring him back home, and forcefully suppress the matter. Actually, Xiao Yi was not really a troublemaker at that time, Mr. Du said angrily as he told me this story. He just wanted to give those kids a chance to reform, which is why he got involved with them. But no one believed him, except for me. No one believed him, not the school teachers, not his classmates. Not even Jiang Yi's parents believed that someone could be genuinely kind enough to guide a group of delinquents towards a better path, especially since he's just a middle school student. Do you know why Jiang Yi fights? Old Du asked me again. I was silent for a moment before I answered. Because of Jiang Wang. Jiang Wang's health was poor, and everyone in the Jiang family treated him with kid gloves, as if he were fragile. But the Jiang family couldn't always have someone by Jiang Wang's side. So the one who spent the most time with Jiang Wang was Jiang Yi. See, even you understand the reason. How can his parents not see it? Old Du's smile was full of mockery. I remembered Mr. Jiang and Madame Jiang from my past life and thought that perhaps they knew initially. The Jiang family has always placed great emphasis on reputation, even if Jiang Yi fought to protect Jiang Wang. But once he threw a punch, he went from being a victim to an aggressor. Jiang's parents could accept him being a victim temporarily, but they couldn't accept him being an aggressor all the time, so they chose Jiang Wang, the more obedient, better performing child who could bring more benefits to the Jiang family. When Xiao, Old Du patted my shoulder and sighed. Sometimes I really think you two are alike. The matter resurfaced. The Jiang family had suppressed it with force in the past, resulting in an even more severe backlash this time. And I was the catalyst for this backlash. I went to find Jiang Yi but couldn't find him. I thought he was angry. Before I could find Jiang Yi and explain, my dad came home. He dragged me back home using the excuse that I fought and disobeyed, and nobody stopped him. Perhaps feeling that the backbone of the family had returned, my mom exaggeratedly described how unruly I had been lately. In a few more years, she'll just randomly run off with some guy. She cursed me with the most venomous words. Even my younger brother joined in, hitting me with a toy car. Don't run away, use the money to buy me toys. The metal toy car hit my forehead, blood flowed down, blurring my vision, but I just quietly watched this family, probably reminded by my mom, The first thing my dad did when he dragged me home was to strip off my clothes and find the knife I had hidden on me. I stood before them nearly naked, my emotions numb to the point of indifference. They locked me in the house, to punish me. My mom starved me for several days. The slight weight I had gained from being with Jiang Yi was completely gone. Do you still want to keep her? I heard my dad ask my mom, contact them and ask for more dowry money, and marry this dead girl off directly. They hid all the sharp objects in the house, to prevent me from running away. My hands and feet were almost always tied, except when eating. It seemed like I was back in the darkest times of my past life, but this time, I was calm. I had thought of a way out. At worst it would be a fight to the death, but I didn't expect that Jiang Wang would bring the police just as I was about to be sold to an old man. To prevent any accidents, the two of them had almost settled on a price and were about to marry me off immediately. The man was dressed in an old-fashioned bright red wedding suit, and everyone around him was joyfully congratulating him, completely ignoring me, who was tied up. It was then that Jiang Wang burst in with the police, animals. His eyes were red with anger, and his hands trembled as he untied me. He then took off his clothes and covered the glaring wedding suit I was wearing. Aside from these words, Jiang Wang didn't say anything else. Someone has reported you for illegal kidnapping. It's just an engagement. Just an engagement, my dad explained to the police with a smile. Girls in the countryside get married early. We were just letting this girl get engaged first, to marry when she comes of age. It's not illegal. Right, that's exactly it. And moreover, this is a family matter. You police shouldn't interfere in other people's family affairs, right? My mom also chimed in, and the man was taken aback, standing there not daring to say a word. I report, due to not having had food or water for a long time. My voice was hoarse. I report them for human trafficking. When I mentioned this, the policeman's expression turned stern immediately. I once had an older sister, but after I was old enough to work, I never saw her at home again, because she was sold by our mother. Sold to an old widower to bear his children. She was taken to the old man's home, tied up by the man who was nominally her father. He even broke her legs to prevent her from escaping. So from a very young age, I knew what I was going to face in the future. When they discovered my talent for learning, they decided to let me go to school, because a cultured young girl would fetch a higher price. I thought my sister was the first, but I later learned that this wasn't their first time doing such a thing. My sister wasn't the first girl they had ruined. In my past life, I spent a lot of energy gathering evidence and personally sent them to prison. This time around, it was much easier. I led the police to the basement at home, where 3 unconscious young girls were still being kept. There was also a ledger in my mother's room. It recorded every girl they had trafficked over the years and the price each was sold for. The latest entry was my name, price, 3,000 yuan. The evidence was irrefutable, and those 2 were taken away by the police directly. Before being taken away, my dad, gasping for breath, glared at me viciously, while my mom cursed me with all kinds of vulgar language. Wishing me a miserable death, my brother rushed at me fearlessly with his little metal car, shouting, "I'll kill you, you costly nuisance." He was only 6 years old. Jiang Wang stepped in front of me and easily stopped all his movements. Get lost. My brother was scared into tears. To cooperate with the investigation, Jiang Wang and I also went to the police station. Hearing them repeatedly express their thanks to student Jiang Wang, I couldn't help feeling a bit dazed. When we came out, it was almost dark. Jiang Wang had maintained a polite smile all day and now couldn't help but rub his sore cheeks. I still prefer you with red hair. He turned to look at me, about to say something, but I calmly cut him off. Jiang Wang was taken aback, then emphasized, the one with red hair is my brother. I stopped in my tracks and then told him, only Jiang Yi can order me around. And only Jiang Yi can take me away. Jiang Wang, or rather Jiang Yi, who had swapped identities with Jiang Wang, laughed. All right. He refused to admit his identity and walked ahead. Then you just wait here to see if he comes to pick you up. I remained silent. Jiang Yi left. In the evening, it suddenly started raining. I found a bench by the roadside to sit down on, quietly thinking about what else I could do for Jiang Yi. And then I realized, somewhat despondently and confusedly, that it seemed I had been causing trouble for Jiang Yi all this time. This was entirely different from when I was with Jiang Wang. Even if Jiang Wang despised me, he couldn't fault any of my actions. I always managed to resolve everything perfectly for Jiang Wang. But why is it different now? I pondered this until a familiar voice approached from afar. Don't you know to find a place to hide when it rains? God damn it. It was Jiang Yi, who had returned. He didn't have an umbrella either and ran over all drenched, then without another word, tried to drag me away. Jiang Yi, I called his name, then smiled. This time, I really don't have a home. When I said this, I felt no sadness, only relief. I had once said something similar to Jiang Wang. That was the only time I had ever shown my vulnerable side in front of Jiang Wang. But Jiang Wang had said, "Wen Xiao, do you think you're any better than your parents?" So I never spoke of it again. But this time was different. This time, I had found Jiang Yi. So I gathered up my courage and carefully asked the question I had never dared to ask in my previous life. "So, Jiang Yi, can you take care of me one more time?" Jiang Yi fell silent. This time, he didn't deny it. Instead, he pulled at the corners of his mouth and glared at me, his voice rough and harsh. "When have I not taken care of you? I've practically been at your beck and call." I couldn't help but laugh, though my eyes stung with tears. "Jiang Yi always called me a blockhead. So I called you little blockhead a few times, and you took it so seriously that you think you're a spirit made of wood, needing to drink rainwater and absorb the essence of heaven and earth. Is that it?" But when he saw the wounds on my body, all his scolding choked off. He eventually managed to force a few words out of his throat. "I should have kicked those beasts a few more times when I had the chance." Then he started talking about other things, trying to distract me. "It's finally okay. I thought you were mad at me." I looked down at my bandaged wounds, somewhat dazed. "I said I wanted to repay you, but I end up causing you trouble every time. I thought you were angry, so I couldn't find you again." "Why would you think I was angry?" "Because you didn't want to bring up those things." "Just because I don't want to bring it up doesn't mean no one else will talk about it. I can't shut everyone up." Jiang Yi was amused and then told me, "I wasn't angry. I just had some things to deal with and went back for a few days. If I were really angry, would I have gone to all that trouble to save you?" Later, I found out that because that incident was brought up again, Jiang Yi was taken back to the Jiang family by his angry parents. He was worried I wouldn't be able to find him, that I might overthink things or something might happen. So he spent those days trying to figure out a way to get out. In the end, it was Jiang Wan who suggested they swap identities, so Jiang Yi starved himself. After he looked as sickly as Jiang Wang, they switched identities and he escaped. But he never told me any of this. He only mentioned that his identity wasn't suitable to show up at the police station. "So how did you recognize me?" Clearly, Jiang Yi was more interested in this. He stroked his chin. "Even my parents couldn't tell us apart." I didn't know how to explain. It seemed that as soon as Jiang Yi appeared in front of me, I could immediately recognize him. If I had to describe it precisely, it was probably because I was subconsciously afraid that if I mistook someone else for Jiang Yi again, I would never be able to find him. So I said, "I won't make the mistake of misrecognizing you a second time." Jiang Yi thought I had mistaken Jiang Wang for him the first time, so he didn't take it too seriously, just smiled. Before long, old Du, who had received the news, hurried over. He didn't say much, just patted my shoulder with reddened eyes and comforted me in a low voice. "Let's go. Your master's wife is waiting at home." Jiang Yi didn't follow, but as I was being led away by old Du, he suddenly asked me, "Do you trust me that much?" The young man still wore his usual brazen, carefree smile. But I sensed something cautiously hidden deep within, so after thinking for a bit, I gave my answer. "I am a blockhead. You know, a wooden person is the least adaptable, clinging stubbornly to one belief." Jiang Yi slowly lost his smile. Finally, with a sigh, he muttered softly, "You're stubbornly peculiar." Our relationship seemed to have grown closer. He didn't go out as often. Instead, old Du grabbed him by the ear and made him start relearning high school knowledge. A brother should set a good example for his sister. Jiang Yi initially wanted to refuse, but swallowed his words when he saw me watching him. He touched his nose and finally looked up with a long sigh. All right, because of that incident, no high school would accept Jiang Yi, so he could only study at old Du's house. Xiao Zhou was right. Jiang Yi really was severely biased in his subjects, even though he had only been self-studying for a while. He could still score nearly perfect on the math portion of the standardized test, but his scores in the humanities were a complete mess. This infuriated old Du, who taught literature, so much that he couldn't help but pick up a stick to beat him, raging, "I think you're just trying to provoke me." At this time, Jiang Yi would become unusually well-behaved. He toned down his playful demeanor and listened to the scolding with his head bowed. The tall young man, over 6 feet tall, huddled miserably in front of the old man, daring not to move, but he dared to sneak winks at me when old Du wasn't looking. Clearly I listened, but I won't change matter. Even now, this "a dead pig is not afraid of boiling water" attitude is exactly like Jiang Yi. I remembered the words old Du had shouted at me that day, slamming the table angrily. I couldn't help but smile. My lips pursed. The Jiang Yi standing before me now was vivid and full of life. He was nothing like the cold, Lifeless words on the few pages of paper from my past life, so, I always thought I should do even more. 26. I went to meet the family of the girl in a vegetative state. The Jiang family took care of all the medical expenses, and Jiang Yi also visited the girl. However, her family was convinced that Jiang Yi was responsible for their daughter's condition, so they would curse and chase him away whenever he visited. But Jiang Yi would come by periodically, quietly leave some things, and then depart. Even though the things he brought were always thrown out, so, when they heard I came because of Jiang Yi, the originally gentle smiles on their faces instantly changed. I didn't come to persuade you to forgive him. After being chased out, I quickly reached out to stop them from shutting the door. The door pinched my hand, causing a faint thud. My palm swelled up almost immediately, turning red. Unaware of the pain, I almost pleaded, "Could you give me just a few minutes?" The family looked at my hand and finally fell silent, so, I told them a story about Jiang Yi from the perspective of the thugs led by him, as told by old Du. I pulled out a voice recorder. It was the most expensive one that the boys could afford with their money. After learning that I was going to see the family, they said only the most expensive one was worthy of their brother Yi, but in reality, they had just too much to say. It was filled with their words. I had no parents. My grandmother raised me by collecting garbage. Before I met brother Yi, I never knew people were supposed to eat 3 meals a day. This was said by Fatty. Nobody could have imagined how skinny he was before meeting Jiang Yi, just skin and bones. My parents divorced, and neither wanted to take care of me, so I became a thief. I stole mostly from brother Yi, but instead of calling the police, he beat me up and made me write down the core values of socialism: steal once, get beaten once. Write it down 100 times. That was little Zhou. As he spoke, he began to painfully recite the core values of socialism again, to the disgust of the others, and me. My family had too many younger siblings and no money for school. Brother Yi paid for my schooling. Brother Yi also paid for my grandmother's hospital bills. One by one, they expressed their gratitude towards Jiang Yi. The family listened in silence to everything, without uttering a word. Finally, the mother couldn't help but cover her face and weep bitterly. The girl's father, tears welling in his eyes, hugged his wife and told me, "We actually knew all along. A truly guilty person wouldn't feel remorse, especially when the law can't prove his guilt." But Jiang Yi kept coming for 4 years, even when I beat him so badly that he was covered in bruises. He didn't utter a word and still came back the next time. We actually knew. By the end, the father was also choking up. But we really had no other choice, really, no other choice. They were just an ordinary family, without the means to afford their daughter's expensive medical bills, so they had no choice but to pin their hopes on the Jiang family using such clumsy methods. I was speechless. I knew all too well how desperation could be magnified by poverty, especially when it involved life and death, so I opened my mouth to speak, but in the end, I couldn't bring myself to utter any words of condemnation. "We'll clarify things," the girl's mother said, drying her tears, "but our testimony won't have much impact." The parents speaking out for Jiang Yi couldn't really clear the charges against him. Instead, it would make others believe that the girl's parents had been bought off by the Jiang family. "I understand," I said, trying to calm my emotions and managing a weak smile. "Only if she wakes up, can his innocence be proven. We don't know if she will ever wake up." At this, the mother of the girl broke down crying again. "She will wake up," I said confidently, my gaze fixed on the girl lying on the hospital bed. "She must wake up." That left the parents speechless. As the father sent me off, he couldn't help but ask, "Do you really trust him that much?" Even his own parents didn't believe he was innocent back then. "It's not exactly about trust," I replied after a thoughtful pause, gazing out at the sunlight beyond the window. Recalling how Jiang Yi always subconsciously walked in the shadows when we first met, I smiled slightly. "I just want Jiang Yi to be able to walk in the sunlight without any reservations." The father was at a loss for words. His gaze shifted past me, settling on something behind me. It was Jiang Yi. I didn't know how long Jiang Yi had been standing there, or how much he had overheard. He walked over nonchalantly and, patting my head, apologized to Rua's parents. "Sorry for the disturbance caused by this young lady." "It's okay," they replied. Then, Jiang Yi put down what he had brought and silently took me to see the doctor. He immediately noticed my hand, which I had been trying to hide. "I should have just ignored it. Let this hand become useless, and then you wouldn't be able to take the college entrance exam," Jiang Yi said sarcastically. I kept my head down, feeling too guilty to speak. Even the doctor, feeling sorry for me, tried to intercede on my behalf, but ended up facing Jiang Yi's indiscriminate rebuke. After leaving the hospital, Jiang Yi remained silent all the way. Finally, I couldn't help but break the silence. Xiao Zhou and the others said you went out today. You think those fools can hide anything from me? Jiang Yi turned to look at me with a slight chuckle. I know what they're up to just by the way they carry themselves, so, I stopped talking. Nothing else you want to say to me? There is, I pondered before speaking out. They also believe that you didn't do it, but to my surprise, there was no hint of joy on Jiang Ye's face. He just nodded calmly. I know, you know, only by hating me do they find a reason to keep going, Jiang Yi said with a smile. Anyway, it's no loss to me. How could there be no loss? Because of that incident. He couldn't attend school and had to endure the strange looks and insults from many people. How could that be no loss at all? I was almost blurred out in frustration. If people call someone a saint, then you are the Holy Father. You're right. Jiang Yi nodded affirmatively. If I weren't the Holy Father, I wouldn't have taken in all you troublesome kids. I couldn't win the argument with Jiang Yi, so, I could only shut my mouth. My eyes reddening as I glared at him. Why are you crying? It was only when my face felt a warm touch that I realized I had been crying. Jiang Yi sighed and pulled out a small pack of scented printed tissues from his pocket. You're almost crying like a little kitten. Weren't you the one who said carrying tissues is a sissy thing to do? I snatched the tissue from his hand, unable to resist retorting. Yeah, Jiang Yi burst out laughing. Aren't I just playing both the roles of mom and dad for you guys? When it comes to shamelessness. I couldn't compete with Jiang Yi. Seeing that he had really irritated me, Jiang Yi started to console me in a gentle tone. He was always adaptable, but then he asked again, do you really believe she will wake up? She definitely will, I said confidently. Jiang Yi paused for a long moment before cursively swearing, stubborn girl, alright, if she really wakes up, then you are my lucky charm, but, he sighed, flashing a small smile. Thank you all. That day after returning, I exaggeratedly recounted the incident to Old Du. Old Du immediately pulled out his belt and started beating Jiang Yi, but before he could finish, he himself started crying, so, Jiang Yi didn't even try to dodge, letting Old Du hit him while comforting him at the same time. Actually, the person who should have been comforted was Jiang Yi himself. Old Du realized this too, so, he threw down his belt, turned around without a word, and together with his wife, made a lavish lunch. He made a face at him. Jiang Yi pretended to be serious and mimicked a murdering gesture, but soon he burst into laughter. It was not until I saw his smile that I suddenly realized how much I had changed. Words like vibrant and lively now described me. In my previous life, I had only been described as numb and a calm lunatic, but somehow, this felt right, I told myself, and then I couldn't help but secretly let out a smile. Everything seemed to be moving in a positive direction. So much so that I almost forgot that in my last life, Jiang Yi died at the age of 17, and to this day, I still don't know why Jiang Yi died. The Jiang family kept all information tightly sealed. I wanted to ask Jiang Wang, but he died in that kidnapping, so after waking up from a nightmare, I started to feel like a frightened bird. I seemed to have reverted to my former self, paranoid and calmly insane. I went to find Jiang Wang. I tried to get details about Jiang Ye's death from Jiang Wang and tried to avoid it, but Jiang Wang refused to tell me, even though I knelt down and begged him. In front of me, he seemed to revert to the haughty CEO Jiang, his tone mocking. What? You want to protect my brother the way you tried to protect me in your last life? Wen Xiao, stop dreaming. Perhaps my kneeling had provoked him, as Jiang Wang's expression turned somewhat manic. He crouched down close to me, smiling as he said, by the way, do you know why I became healthy later in my last life? It was because the heart beating in my chest was my brother's. I abruptly looked up, instinctively grabbing onto Jiang Wang's clothes, but he methodically pried my fingers off. Then he told me word by word, you monster that doesn't understand what love is, everything you do just burdens and pains others. Wen Xiao, why did you even bother escaping? Wouldn't it have been better if you just rotted away in that house? Jiang Wang, Jiang Ye's furious voice interrupted Jiang Wang. I was momentarily dazed, and by the time I came to, Jiang Yi and Jiang Wang were already scuffling. Jiang Wang didn't fight back, he just looked at me in the intervals, his face wearing the familiar mocking smile. This only amplified the panic in my heart, so when Jiang Yi took me away, I was utterly dazed. Don't mind that brat's words. Jiang Yi also seemed a bit troubled. He's not been himself lately, spouting nonsense at home. Don't take it to heart. I continued to stare blankly, then I heard Jiang Yi let out a barely audible sigh. He released my hand, walked a few steps forward, then turned around and opened his arms to me. Want to cry in your man-mom's arms? His tone was teasing, but this time I couldn't afford to be angry with Jiang Yi. Instead, I embraced him desperately, holding him so tightly that I could feel myself shaking. What's there to be afraid of? He patted my back, like comforting a child. You're all grown up, yet you still cry so easily, Jiang Yi, Jiang Yi. I kept repeating his name, as if that alone would give me the strength to keep going. Finally, with a crying voice, I said, I don't want you to die. Tui, 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 of course I won't die. Jiang Yi pretended to spit several times in disgust. His chin rested on the top of my head, so I couldn't see how gentle his eyes were at that moment. All I could hear was him saying, of course I won't die, after all. I have to be on TV with this future exam top scorer beside me, and then tell the whole country that this year's top scorer is a crybaby, yet Jiang Yi still broke his promise. He almost died in that rescue. Jiang Yi saved 3 drowning girls, but the last girl, in her struggle, kicked Jiang Yi several times. Jiang Yi couldn't make it back up. I arrived at the scene to find a calm lake surface, my limbs ice cold. He touched me. The girl who was rescued was crying, because he kept touching me. So that's why I kicked him away. His method was not the right way to save someone. Everyone was comforting the girl, even someone who knew Jiang Yi said, I knew he wasn't so kind-hearted. After all, he had done such things before. A nameless rage surged in my head. But I forcefully restrained it, because it wasn't the time to get angry. Looking at the water, I uncontrollably remembered the feeling of drowning from my past life. I was scared, I was trembling with fear, but still, I rushed over without hesitation, because Jiang Yi was there. I had to find Jiang Yi, but I was stopped by Jiang Wang. He held me tightly, his voice trembling, you can't swim, going there would be suicide. I've already sent someone to rescue my brother. Don't worry, he will be fine. I couldn't listen to anything, and like a wild beast, I was pulling and biting at Jiang Wang, but Jiang Wang, gritting his teeth and groaning, refused to let go of me. Not until Jiang Yi was rescued and given emergency CPR before being rushed to the hospital in an ambulance, Jiang Wang still didn't let go of me. I sat down on the ground as if all my strength had been drained, almost suffocating. It wasn't until I heard someone say, such scum deserves to die, that I stiffly turned my head. I calmly stood up and walked step by step towards that person. When Jiang Yi was around, he would confiscate all the sharp objects I had on me, but since I had that dream, I had secretly kept a knife hidden from him. So, when the people around saw me pull out the knife, screams of horror filled the air, but I couldn't hear anything, couldn't see anything. All I saw was red. I always knew there was a complete madman hidden inside me. Only Jiang Yi could shackle me, blocking any path for that madman to emerge. But now Jiang Yi was gone. Jiang Yi is here. Jiang Wang's hoarse shout cut through all the noise, clearly reaching my ears. He clutched his chest in pain but forced himself to walk step by step towards me. Jiang Yi won't be in trouble. But have you thought about how sad he would be if something happened to you? Do you think you're the only one who wants to save him? I want to as well. Or are you just a complete coward? Too scared to face Jiang Yi again, Jiang Wang painfully looked at me, his neck veins bulging. I blankly watched as Jiang Wang approached me and then snatched the knife from my hand. I'll take you to see Jiang Yi. He was also trembling, even more violently than me. I'll take you to him. Jiang Yi was rescued, but due to the prolonged drowning, he fell into a long coma. The only good news was that Jiang Yi had a strong will to live. Jiang Yi in his past life didn't have the will to live. Jiang Wang was silent for a while, then hoarsely spoke to me. He said that a long time ago, a highly respected monk had told Jiang Yi that he would face a deadly calamity. If he survived it, he would live a safe and smooth life. But Jiang Yi was always lively and troublesome, rarely even sick. Instead, it was he who had been frail since childhood. So, the Jiang family didn't take the prophecy seriously until Jiang Yi died. He died with no will to survive. Jiang Yi was intent on dying. I couldn't stop him. Jiang Wang cried and laughed. I stopped him once, but I didn't expect there would be a next time. If Jiang Yi really wanted to die, no one could stop him. I numbly listened, devoid of any emotional fluctuations. Jiang Wang said a lot more, probably about past lives, but without Jiang Yi, I couldn't take it in. I don't want Jiang Yi to die, and I don't want you to die either. As we were leaving, Jiang Wang suddenly said this. He looked at me, his face showing a smile uglier than crying. But I didn't expect that even after I said this, you still insisted on staying by Jiang Yi's side. So when Xiao, you must hate me. I remained silent in response to him. Jiang Yi had been asleep for a long time. I spent over a week in the hospital with Jiang Yi. Eventually, old Duke couldn't stand it anymore and forcefully dragged me out of the hospital. Do you think good grades give you the right to do whatever you want? His eyes were still red, but he sternly lectured me. Don't you care about being the top scorer in the college entrance exam? Jiang Yi is waiting to go on TV with you for an interview. I looked at old Du blankly, unsure of what to say. Perhaps seeing my pitiful state softened his heart a bit. He repeatedly insisted that I promise not to fall behind in my studies, finally agreeing to let me come to visit Jiang Yi in the evenings. A lot had happened while Jiang Yi was asleep. For instance, Ruo woke up. The day after she regained consciousness, her parents reported to the police, and the still weak Ruo mustered her strength to prove Jiang Yi's innocence. Then there was the girl who, after being saved by Jiang Yi, had falsely accused him of molestation. She was sued by the Jiang family. Jiang Wang presented a voice recorder, and everyone could clearly hear the girl's unrestrained mockery. Why did Jiang Yi reject my confession? Besides, he has a history. So isn't it normal for him to touch me while saving me? And it wasn't me who wanted to kick him. It's a natural reflex in such situations, right? Even if Jiang Yi had really died, it wouldn't have been my fault, so don't pin that on me. Suddenly, Jiang Yi went from being labeled as scum and mud to being hailed as a great hero by everyone. More and more people began visiting Jiang Yi in the hospital. And sometimes I couldn't even squeeze in. Eventually, the Jiang family took Jiang Yi abroad for treatment. Actually, the Jiang family had contacted foreign brain specialists a long time ago. It was only because Jiang Wang pleaded on your behalf that they brought a specialist from abroad. But since some equipment isn't available domestically, Jiang Yi had to go abroad for treatment as soon as possible. Old Du patted my shoulder, comforting me. Focus on your studies. Maybe someday Jiang Yi will see you on TV. I quietly looked at the empty hospital bed and nodded. It was already very good that Jiang Yi had survived. Everything seemed to return to normal. I went to school and worked part-time as usual. Sometimes, Xiao Zhou and the others would come to see me, pretending to be fierce and asking if anyone had bullied me so they could stand up for me. Each time, old Du would pull them by the ears and give them a good lecture. They would admit their mistakes obediently, but it would happen again next time. No one mentioned Jiang Yi. It was as if he had never existed, until the next year's midsummer. When I was in my second year of high school, I went to the classroom early, only to find a familiar figure sitting at my desk. I stared at the figure, frozen in place. A few classmates who had arrived early were whispering, "Hey, isn't that Jiang Wang from No. 1 middle school?" "That's not right," a friend from No. 1 middle school told me they saw Jiang Wang in a great mood early this morning. "Doesn't Jiang Wang have a twin brother? His name's Jiang Yi." I blurted out his name. Jiang Yi turned around, a mischievous grin I knew all too well on his face. "It's been a while, and little Woody has grown so beautiful," he teased, stroking his chin as if in deep thought. "It's really strange. It turns out even a blockhead can blossom beautifully." I was speechless, my vision blurring, and in this blur, I watched as Jiang Yi walked towards me, step by step, just like back then in that alley. He approached me against the light, then he reached out his hand. His smile was as bright and bold as ever. He said, "Little Woody, I've come to see you."